normal circumstances, but these virtual fans are packed and ready to go to watch Brewers and Cubs here in the second game of this 2020 season. We'll get a chance to look at this Milwaukee Brewers lineup, a look that is a little bit different from a year ago. Some new faces mixed in there with some familiar names.
And no question, they lost Grandal, lost Moustakas, but in the middle of that lineup, Keston Hiura just in smoke as you see Christian Yelich spotting right there at that second spot, Lorenzo Cain down at the bottom. But they do have some new faces, 15 of them on this year's 30-man roster.
And they'll face a 33-year-old, four-time Major League Baseball All-Star, third year of a 6-year deal for Yu Darvish, who made 31 starts a year ago, EK.
Yeah, he's going to have a tough act to follow. Kyle Hendricks threw a complete game yesterday. But Yu Darvish, he's got the ability. He's got the stuff. Can it translate into being effective every fifth day?
They'll face Eric Sogard, one of the new faces for this Milwaukee team, although not too new. It's another stint for him with the Brewers after splitting his time with Toronto and Tampa Bay a year ago. So last night, the Brewers have 3 hits in Kyle Hendricks' complete game shutout performance. All 3 hits came from the same man who's in the 9 spot today, Orlando Arcia. The rest of the Brewers did not have a hit. They struck out 9 times and did not get a runner into scoring position against Kyle Hendricks. Off we go, and Major League Baseball on Fox begins its 25th season. Proud, pleased, and privileged to be here as Eric Sogard takes a strike.
And you saw that first pitch, 91-mile-an-hour fastball. Kyle Hendricks didn't even touch 90 last night. Finesse all evening long.
Yeah, some dangerous flirting with 88 miles an hour last night for Hendricks. It'll be a little bit different with Darvish, who puts together great strikeout numbers for his career.
Yeah, definitely a lot of swing and miss stuff. And again, he can be overpowering at times. I mean, sometimes you just wonder if he believes that he's that good.
Sure. The mental makeup of Yu Darvish has been a topic of conversation going back a few years. Third year of a big money contract in Chicago. Is 0-2 to Eric Sogard. Wide, versatile repertoire for Yu Darvish, so we'll see a lot of curveballs, we'll see sliders, we'll see the ball all over the place.
Well, and he added something this year, the supreme pitch, right? It's almost like when you grab a two-seamer but just widen those fingers. It's a hybrid of a two-seamer and a splitter. But that's the last thing you need to see if you're a hitter, is just another pitch that he's got.
Yeah, some of the pitches differentiations come in the grips. Some of them come in the arm slot. 1-2 on Eric Sogard, the Milwaukee leadoff man. 2-2. Sogard, as we mentioned, familiar face, hitting in front of Christian Yelich in the leadoff spot. 34 years of age, from Phoenix, high contact guy, super utility guy. A 1-year deal, returning to the Brewers where he was part of the lineup 3 seasons ago.
Well, he needs to become a high on base guy. Mm-hmm. I mean, anybody hitting in front of Yelich, you want him coming up to the plate with the pitcher throwing out of the stretch.
On the ground towards the right side. And a good play by the first baseman and Gold Glover Anthony Rizzo, flipping to Darvish for the first out. Speaking of the defense for the Chicago Cubs, a team that does not shift very much. In fact, they had the lowest shift percentage in Major League Baseball last year. Jason Hayward's got all the Gold Gloves in right field. Ian Happ is expected to be a mainstay in center. This is the infield. Bryant, Baez, the newcomer, and hometown boy Jason Kipnis, the 3-time Gold Glover Anthony Rizzo, and a very solid pitch framer. In fact, Yu Darvish's personal catcher in his dynamic second half last year, Victor Caratini. And they're going to need to try to get some extra strikes because this guy's got plate coverage. Christian Yelich, the 2-time National League batting champion. And he takes a breaking ball and lifts it out to short right. Second baseman Kipnis has it, and there are 2 down here in the first. Big out to get.
Yeah, you know, Adam, we just mentioned the Cubs defense, and we went over that a bit. That's one of the areas that they're going to really have to shore up. I mean, they were 3rd in all of baseball last year in errors. And, yes, they've got Rizzo. Yes, they've got Hayward. And they've got some athletic guys. Baez at short. But the bottom line, it doesn't matter how flashy you are. You've got to catch the ball. See Kyle Schwarber.
See how Jason Kipnis does at second. Yep. And you're just going through all these different names that are going to have to shift around into some different spots or improve in the spots that they're currently in. Here's Keston Hiura, and they're really high on this young man who is sitting in the 3 spot right behind Christian Yelich, trying to protect him. He had a dynamic opening season last year as a Brewer.
Yeah, his ability to put the barrel of the bat on the ball, unbelievable. He was a first-round pick out of UC Irvine, and he didn't even play defense his junior year. Arm issues, and that's something that's always plagued him. But the way he's built, he's compact, able to drive the ball the other way, has power.
Hit the 19 home runs with the Brewers last year. Also hit 19 at AAA San Antonio, and they play in a very pitcher-friendly park there. Ahead in the count 2-0. And it takes a strike. Number 9 overall pick just 3 years ago, debuted last May. In fact, right around this time last year, hit a walk-off home run against these Cubs.
Well, he's got a big load on his shoulder, right? He's hitting behind Christian Yelich.
2-1. Hit sharply into left field for a base hit. And Keston Hiura has the first Milwaukee hit of the season by someone not named Orlando Arcia.
See, this is a 2-seamer down in the zone and gets a hold of it, drives it out to left, gets the ball to Schwarber there.
So Hiura aboard with 2 outs. And that'll bring up what I would imagine Craig Counsell believes to be a key free agent signing in Justin Smoak, who's in the 4 spot. Low batting average, good power numbers. They were planning on platooning him, with him being pretty much a dead pull left-handed hitter. They would love to have platooned him with Ryan Braun, but here's another thing that steps in now, Eric. This year, the universal DH allows Justin Smoak and Ryan Braun, who is getting an off day today, to be in the lineup at the same time.
And they're really hoping that he returns to that 2017 form.
Toss to first and back in safe.
Great season with the Blue Jays. And I think they feel like they kind of got him on the cheap this winter. Sign him to a 1-year deal. Hopefully he comes here. Miller Park, a favorable spot to hit.
And the short porch in right field for somebody like Smoak, who pulls the ball as a lefty. Close pitch, but it's a little bit high, according to C.B. Buckner.
That is going to be interesting to watch, how this team assimilates together, this Brewer club, just because so many new faces.
Tried to check his swing, but it's in there for a strike, and it's 1-1 on Justin Smoak. To your point, EK, those numbers a few years ago, the career-high 38 home runs, great OPS. They do get him on the cheap for $5 million this year. They have a lot of options at first base if they are going to use Ryan Braun primarily as a designated hitter. Logan Morrison, Jed Jerko, a new signing as well. Another toss to first, and back in his hero.
I think the thing, though, with Milwaukee is there are a lot of guys that are going to have good years. They can't really, Justin Smoak can't play like he did the last 2 seasons for Milwaukee to be successful.
Darvish coming home with a 1-1. There's some great movement in a swing and miss pitch. There's Craig Counsell One of the bright young managers in baseball. In fact, now is the longest tenured manager in the National League. This is now his 6th season. Dave Roberts and Don Mattingly, both 5 years in their respective spots in LA and Miami. 1-2. Rope towards center field, and that gets down in front of Ian Happ for a base hit. Hira stops at second. 2 on and 2 out in this opening frame for the Brewers.
Darvish threw a breaking ball there, and Smoke just stayed on it, served it up the middle.
Brewers have a runner at second for the first time this year.
As you mentioned just now, just one hit away from matching that game total last night.
Absolutely. And here's another guy who may benefit from Miller Park and that short porch. Guy who's got some good power to all fields. Avisail Garcia. Chicago folks are familiar with him from his days as a White Sox. They're going to have to fill in this spot too. Yasmani Grandal going to the White Sox on a very solid free agent deal. There'll be a platoon behind the plate with Garcia and Manny Pena this year. Take a ball inside.
Man, every time I look at him, he reminds me, Garcia reminds me of Miguel Cabrera.
Sure.
Right? I mean, just.
Down to the wide neck.
Yeah, right? I mean, it's
just built. Garcia, 29 years of age, the Venezuelan native, has been a Tiger, a White Sox, a career high in homers with the Rays last year. And they've got him under club control for 3 seasons. There's a 1-0. Movement again on the outer part of the plate. Yu Darvish struggling a little bit in the summer camp stretch. In fact, his last outing was Sunday against the White Sox in an exhibition. They actually had to cut the first inning short because he had been struggling. He went 29 pitches in that inning, gave up an Eloy Jimenez grand slam. Not particularly sharp, but still very high hopes in a big spot for Yu Darvish this season after what was a fantastic second half last year.
Yeah, it really was. You know, the way he threw the second half is what Cubs fans expected since they signed him. And everybody is hoping that he can continue to feed off of what he did. And again, like for me, the mental part just feels so important for him.
This is 1-1.
You know, it's crazy. When I played, there would be guys that had stuff that you just would shake your head at, and meaning it was so good, and you felt like you had no chance against them. But they didn't believe that. The pitcher themselves did not believe that they were that good and that they had that good of stuff and that it was difficult to hit. And that's how you could beat them. And again, if it just feels like Darvish just went out and stood on the mound and said, all right, let's go, boys. You know, he could absolutely dominate.
Two on, 2 out. And the count evens up at 2-2 on Garcia. David Ross in his managerial debut last night. That had to be pretty cool for him. He told us that Nico Horner, who started at second base last night, gave him the game ball. And as is tradition for a lot of major league managers, their first time out, lineup card signed and framed coming his way for that office.
But how about having to make that trip to the mound in the ninth,
in the ninth inning?
Right. You know, it's okay. I'm wearing the manager's hat. I'm wearing the former player's hat. I'm wearing it's just, you know, he said it was difficult. You know, do I take Kyle Hendricks out or do I let him go one more hitter to get that complete game?
And think about the latest game last night with Joe Madden, the former Cubs manager, now managing for the Angels. He's got Andrew Heaney pitching really well, and he takes him out before he hits 70 pitches. Granted, situationally, it's a lot different. Just interesting to see how the juxtaposition opening weekend with that will work.
He didn't play with Andrew, right?
That's right. Yes, exactly. He knows Kyle Hendricks about as well as anybody does, David Ross. Caught him in some big moments as well. In fact, that 2016 season for Hendricks was so good. And David Ross, obviously such a key and integral part of that World Series championship, now managing for the Chicago Cubs. Tough spot for Darvish in the opening frame, approaching 20 pitches. Another 2-2 to Garcia. I'll be fascinated to see how this goes too, EK. Just thinking already about what could take place in the 5th or 6th inning when you already have a 20-pitch outing in the first frame this early in the year. You're coming off some struggles. This will be a little different, I imagine, to navigate this for David Ross.
Right, and remember last night, Kyle Hendricks, 8 pitches in the first inning. Right, and here we are, Yu Darvish about ready to throw his 20th. I mean, what a contrast.
Here at second, Smoke at first. Another 2-2. Got him. That arm side run from Yu Darvish gets Avisail Garcia out. The Cubs are coming up in the bottom of the first. Cubs coming to bat in the bottom of the first of a scoreless game. They set a franchise record in home runs last year, and in game 1 last night, Anthony Rizzo and Ian Happ with a couple of shots against Milwaukee pitching. Haps came in the 3rd, and that ended up being the deciding blow in the opening night victory last night. And today, some gas on the mound going up against this solid Cubs lineup. Corbin Burns getting another opportunity in the rotation, EK.
Yeah, Adam, I tell you, do not look at those numbers. Do not look at the ERA at 8.82. Do not look at the opponent average at 330, because this guy is one of those guys we talked about earlier. Electric stuff, unbelievable arm. He's done a ton of work on pitch delivery, getting his body in sync since September, and he has been great in summer camp.
He'll face Chris Bryant in the leadoff spot. And a first pitch strike at 97. Expect to see a decent amount of that today. So here's Bryant, a couple of strikeouts last night, stepping into this leadoff spot that, as you mentioned, Eric, just hasn't really found some consistency since the World Series championship with Fowler at the top.
I mean, we could flat out say it was bad last year.
Yep.
I mean, forget consistency. It just it was, it was a perpetual black hole, right? And they need to find somebody at the top there just to set the tone. You're hitting ahead of Rizzo and Baez.
In their first strike. Late call there from C.B. Buckner, and Chris Bryant had a bit of a question for it. 1-2.
As well he should.
This is what you're talking about. Bryant and Rizzo, right at the top. You need to have guys on base. One-two to Bryant. Waves and misses, and there's a strikeout for Burns on the slider, and that's his wipeout pitch. Last night, 8th inning, down to a knee goes Anthony Rizzo to crank one out.
And earlier in the game, he had been hit on the hand, and there was some concern in the Cubs dugout. Thinking, oh, you got to be kidding me. And then what's he do later on in the game? My hand is fine. Now, this is a guy that really is a magnet for pitches, right? He doesn't care about getting hit.
Got hit 27 times last year.
Look at this.
He's got he's got Martin Solveig is playing. That's Anthony Rizzo's walk-up music artist, and I think there's just a familiarity and a happiness for a lot of the guys to hear some songs and to feel some feel some of this normalcy, I think. There was some debate if he was going to change his walk-up music. In fact, he went with the classics. First pitch to Anthony Rizzo. Made his 8th consecutive opening day start last night, and that was a little bit of a question this week. He's been dealing with back issues during summer camp, but through some rib cage inflammation, the tightness, some spasms, all of that, he was in the lineup last night. Looked sharp in the exhibition as well on Wednesday. In fact, the at bat he had on Wednesday at Wrigley Field against the Twins during an exhibition game, his first AB went for a home run, so he looked sharp right out of the gate, even though he missed most of the live at bats during summer camp.
Right, and sometimes you wonder, is that just adrenaline taking over? You're just fired up, and I have some immediate success, and then you'll run into a lull for a week or two, and that's just because you haven't been able to get the work in. But we saw last night. Right out of the gate, home run.
See if he swings on 3-0. He'll take it, and a 4-pitch walk for a guy who does get on base at a very good clip. So 1 on against this Milwaukee defense. Ben Gamble is in left. Christian Yelich will usually get that spot, but Yelich getting the DH slot today. Kane and Garcia make up the rest of it. Sogard, Arcia, Hira, and Smoke around the infield, and Omar Narvaez, who needs to improve his pitch framing as well, is behind the plate. And here is about as aggressive of a guy as you'll see on a first pitch in Major League Baseball. Here's Javi Baez. Lays off, 1 down and away.
That's 5 straight now for Burns. And remember, one of those pitches he threw to Bryant was questionable, at least in Chris's mind. You know, Burns has had trouble. He had trouble against left-handers last year. We saw the 4-pitch walk to Rizzo. You know, Baez is a guy obviously you've got to be careful with, but he is a free swinger.
Baez, one of the highest chase rates in all of baseball last year. Check swing foul. Remember a couple of years ago, it was Baez who finished second in the MVP voting in the National League to Christian Yelich. That was the year he had 111 RBIs to lead the National League. 29 more home runs last year, and this is after missing most of the final month of the season after a fractured left thumb. Ooh, good snag at first by Smoke. He's a very good defender as well.
He used to drive me nuts playing first base. The pitcher, you know, he'd walk somebody or giving up a base hit, and then they're throwing 1,000 miles over to first base trying to pick guys off. I mean, the only advantage you have now as a fielder in a day game without the fans, you're not going to get lost in the white shirts. Ooh.
Oof. Came inside. Baez with a little bit of a stare. CB Buckner and Omar Narvaez kind of buffering on the way up the line.
I mean, that's, you know, you can be mad that you got hit and kind of frustrated, but look, Burns hasn't been able to control anything so far.
Yep.
You know, you've got the padding on, not trying to hit you.
This just seems like a guy who's maybe got a little bit of juice, right? First time out, you're back in the rotation. We saw it with Jacob deGrom of the Mets yesterday. Cy Young winner coming out firing 99, 99, 100.
Well, I think, too, with Burns, because he's had so much success, albeit, you know, in spring training and the summer camp, and he's reinvented himself, there's that anticipation to get out there and go, all right, I'm going to show you guys what I got. And I think he's probably fighting that right now.
First time Baez has been hit this year. He did not get hit by a pitch all last year. A rare occurrence for him as Schwarber takes a strike. And here's another big storyline for the Cubs. In the cleanup spot, Schwarber coming off his best offensive season a year ago. Will not be limited to just DH duties. David Ross said he wants to put him out in the field, wants to see the improvement on display. Good pitch for a strike, and it's 0-2.
You see, he's gone to 2 off-speed pitches. First the breaking ball, and then looked like a change up there.
After that fastball missed so far inside, right?
Right. I mean, it's almost you go to a breaking ball right here again. 5 fastball.
Yep. Narvaez out of the crouch, and Schwarber fouls it away.
You know, and the reason I say I'd go to a breaking ball, he just hasn't been able to control the fastball right now. You're in a situation, you're 0-2. And even that fastball right there, you know, Schwarber was able to get to. I'd almost come back with that changeup and off speed. Hopefully he rolls it over or swings and misses.
2 on, 1 out in the first. Tried that outside edge and just missed. The slider is the wipeout pitch, as we talked about. It is a deadly pitch. for Corbin Burnes, along with that excellent fastball. And when you're a reliever, you got 97, 98, and a really good slider, you're pretty darn good. It's a little bit different in the rotation, and the numbers for Burnes reflected that the last couple of years.
Well, it's such a difference where you come in and you're throwing an inning and you can let it go. Here you've got to pace yourself. You've got to set up hitters. You don't want to show them too much. You want to save certain pitches for certain situations.
1-2. Schwarber reaches out to poke it foul.
There's that changeup. Well, as you see right there, too, Burnes is already up to 16 pitches. And that's what this Cubs offense will do so well, is they will be able to, it'll be a game of attrition for them. They will just wear down pitchers.
Yep.
You know, those first 5 guys in the lineup.
Absolutely.
I mean, just not a lot of fun to look at.
Yeah, it's the old murderer's row right now. Contreras closes out the first 5 in this lineup. Most of these first 5, too, will see a lot of pitches. Rizzo, Bryant, Schwarber in particular. And then you got a guy in Baez who might jump on you on the first pitch. It's an interesting lineup to have to navigate as a starting pitcher. Chance for Schwarber and a 1-2. Good pitch on the outside corner from Burnes.
That's a great pitch right there. It almost, you know, it had a little cut action, and that's what he does. You know, his ball naturally has cut action, usually spends a lot of time on the glove side of the plate. Here he's almost able to backdoor that thing, and, you know, you get the movement, and it's coming at 96.
Whew. Average velocity last year at 96, and we've seen him hit 97 a couple of times today. There's Wilson Contreras. Another part of this power in the order. 24 home runs a year ago, trying to get something done with 2 out. First pitch swinging. Contreras, a couple of injury list stints last year. Had a foot injury, had a hamstring issue. But he and Schwarber and Caratini, these are 3 guys that you can have in the lineup together that combined for 73 home runs last year, and not a lot of people are necessarily going to talk about them first because of Bryant, Rizzo, and Baez. Big cut, 0-2.
Well, he's ahead of him 0-2 right now, so this is when you can mess around. Again, glove side, you maybe throw a slider or a fastball on the outer part.
You don't want to challenge Contreras too much inside. You saw his numbers among catchers in Major League Baseball last year. He's got real power. 0-2. And up and in at 98 that time.
Right, and so that's just a show-me pitch, right? I mean, he's not trying to get anybody out there. I mean, it's really not even close. You're not going to offer at it. And why I don't necessarily like that is because he doesn't exhibit great control. And the last thing you want to do 0-2 is hit somebody, load the bases. I mean, I got to believe he's going away right here.
You think that's a setup pitch for the slider?
Yeah.
Tried it. Check swing. Appeal down to first. No swing, says John Tumpane. Ooh, very close.
Yeah, that's close. Look at, if I'm standing up there at the plate right now, I'm thanking goodness that I got another another
shot.
swing. If I'm playing first base right now, I'm going, geez, John, how'd you miss that call?
Help me out here.
I'd go right back out there again, though.
Narvaez sets up there. 2-2. He pulls it over the shortstop, Arcia. Quick throw from Gamble. Here comes Rizzo. Play at the plate, and the Cubs take the lead in the first. RBI from Wilson Contreras on 2 strikes.
And he just missed his spot there. I mean, he set up way outside. This thing gets right out over the middle of the plate. And that's why I don't like, I did not like the 0-2 pitch, because the 0-2 pitch really didn't have a purpose. You know, it was up and in. I mean, I just play around with the outer part of the plate. Just stay outside. You know, again, it hasn't had a lot of control with his fastball.
early visit from the Milwaukee dugout. Chris Hook is a second-year pitching coach. They send a trainer out there, too. Just
bloody nose, maybe?
Maybe. Obviously, things like this have a little bit of an added tinge to it, just with all the protocols, health and safety-wise, that Major League Baseball is trying to emphasize during this unique season. So Burns being checked out right now.
Well, that's the thing. That, I mean, so many situations that, we would take for granted. Every situation has a way that you now have to specifically react to. And I think a lot of these things, too, we will learn along the way.
Absolutely.
Because you can't.
We're going to see a lot of new stuff, right?
Right. Well, you can't anticipate everything, right? There's not a playbook for every single thing that's going to happen.
I'm checking out Corbin Burns here. We'll step aside for a moment as they check on him. See the gauze being put into the nostril of Corbin Burns, so you imagine maybe a nosebleed or something along those lines, and clearly that's the case. Hopefully Corbin is all right, and this won't limit his action today. I imagine it's such a big day for him. The stories around Milwaukee about Corbin and how everybody really rallies around this guy. They really seem to like him. They have high hopes for him. He's been banged around as a starter. He's been really good as a reliever, and hoping to find some success in what has been a banged-up Milwaukee rotation right out of the gate.
Yeah, it really has. And, speaking with Craig Counsell prior to the game, he said he's one of the guys, Burns, that's going to have to step up, going to have to achieve what everybody else thinks he can do. And look, we don't have a lot of time.
Yeah,
60 games. The development is going to have to go fast, but they're so excited with what they see, the arm strength, the ability. Obviously not the way you want to start off here, but
sure,
you can see the electric arm.
The runners at the corners. It was a strikeout to Bryant to start the inning. Rizzo walked. Baez was hit by a pitch. He's now at third after Schwarber struck out, and Contreras singled him over to third, bringing Rizzo home. Cubs have a 1-0 lead, and here is Jason Hayward coming off one of his better offensive seasons in terms of power. 21 home runs a year ago. First pitch swinging, and Burns went away from the fastball that time.
Well, it does feel like he's got better control with the off-speed stuff,
sure,
at least up to this point. Again, that pitch to Contreras was supposed to be way outside, right down the middle of the plate, fastball.
Hayward on the ground towards first, gloved by Smoke, and that'll do it for the Cubs in the first. But a Contreras RBI has the Cubs in front through one. This is what Wrigley Field looks like in the current state with social distancing, no fans. Oh, look at this! Just like that, fans are packing the stands. We can change the jerseys of the fans. We can give them some emotion. Listen, it's not going to look or sound like what you're used to. We're not fooling you. This is just to make it a little bit more normal once in a while. Embrace the weird is what I say about this 2020 season. Omar Narvaez will lead things off for the Brewers here in the road half of the second.
I will say, though, Adam, some of the games that I've watched so far, the cardboard cutouts behind home plate, I like that sort of stuff.
Me too. Absolutely. Nobody's fooling anybody here. We're having some fun with it. Narvaez pops it up and out of play into those fans.
That's the first time so you don't see any fans running for the ball, right? Just standing around.
But listen, these fans this year are going to be very stoic.
Right.
They are very calm, collected. Maybe they had too many hot dogs or slices of pizza at the concession. Maybe they're just a little sluggish. No, it's fun. It's cool. It's fun. It's interesting. We'll enjoy it or don't. Whatever. It's all good. Here's the 1-1 to Narvaez. Yu Darvish with a strikeout of Garcia to close out that opening frame. On the inside corner, and that evens the count at 2-2 on Omar Narvaez, the 28-year-old from Venezuela. Career high in home runs last year with the Mariners. 22 a season ago. Use him as a left-handed hitting platoon catcher this year. 2-2 pitch. And unable to hold on to it, Caratini. That would have been a strikeout to end Narvaez's at bat.
Yeah, you see Darvish going the off-speed stuff, and as a hitter, it's so difficult to try and sit on any one pitch. It's more of a location. When I'm going up there to hit, I'm trying to find a certain zone to look for a pitch against Darvish. If I'm trying to protect against the 7 or 8 pitches he has, I got no chance.
Best strikeout per 9-inning rate in Major League history. If you've had a minimum of 100 starts, this guy has averaged 11 strikeouts per 9 innings pitched in his career. Began in 2012 at the big league level. Outstanding pitcher in Japan beforehand. 2-2 again.
You know, he is susceptible, though, to the home run ball.
He is.
You know, last year, I think 33 home runs he gave up. And again, that's, you know, he's going to challenge some people, but it's the location.
Most allowed in his career, and obviously part of that is how baseball has changed. 15 different teams set a franchise record in homers last year, including both of these clubs. More home runs hit than any season ever last year. High fastball at 89 took a little off of that, and Narvaez goes down swinging. Well, today's telecast is sponsored by Bud Light. Whenever there's a game to watch, there is a Bud Light there. They're all cheering for the Bud Light. They're very happy about the possibility of the Bud Lights to come on a Saturday afternoon in Chicago. You and I might be exploring those possibilities at some point. One down for Lorenzo Cain, coming off a tough season last year. Those, by the way, are not virtual fans. Those are real fans.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah,
those are real fans on the rooftop.
Yeah.
Lorenzo Cain pops one foul. For those curious, the rooftops and the owners of them did reach an agreement with the city of Chicago, as long as they socially distance, follow all the rules, that they are allowed to have a quarter of their normal capacity on the rooftops. So this may be one of the few cities in America where real fans are going to see baseball games live and in person. One strike pitch, way inside.
You know, Darvish hasn't been great with the control so far. And what's interesting is Narvaez again swung at some pitches out of the zone. And, you know, Cain, if they were more disciplined, they'd even be able to up that pitch count more than what it's at now.
There's pitch number 30. Darvish struggled out of the gate last year as well. On a rough debut on the road at Texas against his former team. He had some control issues out of the gate. That is certainly a concern. Darvish took a while to get going last year. When he did get going, he was excellent. 2-1. Hard hit into left field, and Schwarber unable to corral it cleanly. A chance for Cain to get extra bases. And he'll cruise into second with a 1-out double.
See right there, a two-seamer kind of running back a little bit. Kane just absolutely lashes this thing out into left field. You see Schwarber trying to cut it off. Even if he would have got it, I don't think he gets the speedy Kane at second base just because his body momentum is taking him towards the foul line.
Yeah, you'd have to stop, plant, and then throw, and Kane is still fast enough, even at 34 years of age, to get into scoring position for the 8-hitter Ben Gamel. We heard plenty about Ben Gamel over the last few days. A lot of great things said about Gamel during his summer camp. I don't know how much stock you take into spring training, or in this case summer camp MVPs, but he was the MVP during summer camp for Milwaukee.
Well, the one thing you can take stock in is the change in the batting stance.
Yep.
And, you know, talking to Craig Counsell and others, he's moved his hands away from his body. And it's allowed him to free himself up. He's standing more upright. A lot of people have talked about him mimicking the Christian Yelich stance.
Sure.
And so, you know, what does that do? It allows you to get through the ball. It allows you to pull some balls. You know, you don't get so wrapped up and your hands behind you, and sometimes you just can't get them out, get the bat head out. And again, as you mentioned, it's worked in the offseason. It's worked in summer camp. We'll see how it plays now in the season.
93 high and away to Ben Gamel. So he's playing left field today. Typically you'd have Christian Yelich in left. Ryan Braun will often get a DH spot with the universal DH in this 2020 season. So Gamel expects to play a decent amount. High strike, and it's 1-1.
See that? Yeah, if I'm hitting, that's not a strike. He's not throwing strikes. But again, if you watch Caratini, the way he catches the ball, he catches it, brings it down, gets the called strike.
Very calm glove behind the plate for Victor Caratini. 1-2. Caratini, a top 20 pitch framer by most metrics last year, and he was Yu Darvish's guy in the second half of last season. And after the All-Star break, let me tell you, Yu Darvish was something else. 118 strikeouts to just 7 walks after the All-Star break last year.
Right, that's crazy.
1-2. On the ground towards the shortstop, gloved by Baez, and they've got Kane in a rundown. Bryant, the toss back, Kipnis. Got Baez again. Gamel is stuck at second base now, and the Cubs will not get a single out on that play, and that is very surprising considering the defensive prowess on that infield. That cannot make David Ross happy. Lorenzo Cain's ecstatic, and the Brewers have 2 on and 1 out.
Well, I think one of the most important things, so they're doing everything right, the Brewers, right? Kane stays in the rundown. Gamel gets a second. But watch when Kane goes back now. He starts pointing. See him point. He recognizes that nobody's at first base. Now, for me, that's got to be Caratini and Rizzo both can't be standing at home. You don't need 2 guys at home right there. So that's a miscommunication, if anything.
Nobody was covering first base. Rizzo was late getting back over there. Gamel had a free path to get back to the bag. And now Arcia swinging away after his 3-for-3 effort last night. Down to the count, 0-1.
He said, forget the singles. I had enough of those last night. I'm going deep.
Well, it'll be interesting to see if Orlando Arcia, who has had good seasons in the past, 2017 in particular, it'll be interesting to see if he's the shortstop come midway through this 60-game sprint. Luis Urias is a high-level prospect that they're excited about. Arcia pops it up, 97 on that Darvish offering. Infield fly rule in effect as Kipnis makes the play anyway.
Darvish comes back and makes a good pitch right there. 97-mile-an-hour fastball away.
Get the 9-hitter out, and back to the top, and Eric Sogard grounded out to Rizzo to open the game. Darvish of Osaka, Japan. Turned 34 in August. First offering to Sogard. Nerd Power back in Milwaukee. That's the nickname given to him by Oakland fans who really appreciated Eric's personality, his look, and then his grit and hustle on the field.
Well, Milwaukee looking for their first run of the year. You saw Arcia just going up there. Some of the hacks he took, it looked like he was trying to go deep. Right now, he's just looking to shoot something to left center right now. Get something out over the plate.
0-1. A lot of movement on that pitch that started tailing in on Sogard. Interesting to look at Milwaukee's lineup last year, a team that took a lot of walks. They had the highest walk percentage in the National League. Took a lot of swings, second highest strikeout rate, and then made contact when they did. It was big contact. 250 home runs last year as well to set a new franchise record. See how that translates for sixth-year manager Craig Counsell this year.
Well, again, the philosophy is there, but you have to have the right pieces to execute that philosophy. You know, at the end of the day, you've got to work with what you have. And as we mentioned earlier, 15 new players from last year's ball club.
1-1. It's going to be fascinating to watch the development here. I mean, I look at teams like Milwaukee that have such turnaround. Washington looks a lot different offensively. Maybe their pitching staff has a lot of familiar faces, but they look different offensively. A lot of these teams, you know, it's going to be really interesting. You don't have time to get a slump, or you can't afford more than maybe one during a shortened 60-game season.
Right.
Those were spots that the Brewers struggled in a year ago. Men in scoring position trying to cash in to tie the game in the second. 1-2. Sogard towards center field. Happ coming on. Here comes Kane, and he will score to tie the game. Eric Sogard delivers his first Brewers RBI in a few years. Brewers get their first run of the season, and it's 1-1 in the second.
So here you see the changeup just keeps it up, and it's out over the plate. Sogard able to identify it. You know, and this is Adam. We were talking earlier about the Cubs defense and errors. Now there's going to be no error in this inning, but because they weren't able to record an out in that rundown play, their defense is going to cost them.
Yep.
I mean, what does that? That's run. It's extra pitches, and now you got Yelich
with 2 men on and 2 out. This is the exact type of situation you wanted to avoid. I mean, credit Lorenzo Cain, who kind of had the Cubs defense fooled. That continued the inning with only 1 out. Had it been an out and had Arcia popped out, this inning would be over and the Cubs would be in front. Instead, Yelich up with a chance to give the Brewers the lead.
Well, so you talk about that play Kane made. Okay, so he stays in the rundown and then he identifies that nobody's at first. So you think how many of these situations were practiced in summer camp?
Yeah.
I mean, there's just no way. You didn't have the time. I mean, heck, you may not have been able to get all those guys on the field at one time. It just wasn't worth your time to do. And I've seen, you know, again, this isn't the only time this is going to happen.
Darvish is 1-1. Yelich went after that one high and fouled it back.
You know, one of the things that Darvish is good at is getting hitters to swing at pitches outside of the strike zone. And we've seen that a number of times early on in this game. You know, Yelich just offered it something again out of the zone.
One-two on the 2018 NL MVP. struggled a little bit with that change. You were talking about it, EK, in the plate coverage. Yelich did not have a very good summer camp. All those strikeouts, he went, what, 2 for 23 during the intra-squad games. And again, how much stock you put into that depends on how you feel about it, how you would normally feel about it. But that being said, there were some frustrating moments for Yelich coming back. And remember, he had the knee injury last year that cut his season short, so he was coming back off that as well.
Well, and tell me that's not going to have an impact.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's your legs, important for hitting.
2 strikes on Yelich. On the ground towards second for Kipnis. And they'll retire Yelich, who does not have a hit in his first 6 ABs of this young season. But we're tied at 1.
That you put right in center field.
Sponsored by Toyota and by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Tied up at 1 apiece in Chicago. David Ross, the new manager of the Chicago Cubs, nice enough to join us. David, if you could give us a little bit of insight. First managerial performance last night, first win. How did it feel? What did it mean to you?
Oh, it means a lot. I mean, Kyle Hendricks, he was in the driver's seat last night, so it was nice and comfy. Just heart rate got up a little bit there at the end when his number was creeping up, and you got the heart of their order coming up. But all in all, nice night. Guys played well. It was exciting. It's nice to get that first one under your belt for sure.
The most important thing this Cubs team needs to do to get back to the postseason?
I'd say continue to grow, get better, right? I mean, it's just that short window of spring training with only 3 weeks to get ready. We got some young arms in the bullpen that've got some growth ahead of them. Be patient with that. Every team's going to have to overcome some adversity. Staying positive in this environment is going to be important. There's a lot of things that we can continue to grow in some areas.
Victor Caratini leading things off. Bottom of the order for the Cubs here in the second. We're talking with their manager, David Ross. Is there a challenge that you were concerned about going into this season more so than any other for a first-year manager? You've been around a lot of them, so I imagine you can understand where they're coming from.
Just, the lack of experience that I had coming into this. You try to pull from the guys that you respect and how you saw the game. Just the unknown for me when you get in this seat and actually doing a real game when it counts for real. What's been nice is I've got a great coaching staff around me. Andy Green, my bench coach, is right at home. He's been doing this for a long time. I've got a group that's been here. They're connected and really fun to come to work every day. So I would say just my lack of experience and seeing how that's going to play out.
So when you're walking to the mound in the 9th inning last night to visit Kyle Hendricks, is David Ross the manager walking out? Is David Ross the catcher walking out, the teammate? I mean, how do you differentiate?
Yeah, I think, I've never made that walk before in a real game, so the manager first started out, and I got out there, and I'm like, well, I just talked to him like he was a buddy, I just like, hey, man, the number's creeping up there a little bit. I don't like it. I want to check your temperature, see where you're at, and he said, I think I got one more. I said, good, because that's all I'm giving you, and walked off. So it was a really easy discussion, and I just want to make sure I don't mess up my nice white J's when I get the dirt. I got the Jordans on, so I want to get those dirty.
So when you start tiptoeing when you get to the dirt, we'll know exactly why that is the case. Caratini grounded out. Here's Jason Kipnis, his first Cubs AB. David, I would ask you this as well. Knowing what this offense is capable of, what's the glue that's going to get this offense together for 60 games or as long as possible for those 60 games?
Oh, trust for me. Trust in your teammate with the at-bat behind you, willing to turn it over to the next guy. I know that's cliche, but it's real. It's been on every team that I've had success on as a player, being able to grind at-bats and take the walk and pass it on to the next guy. When you got guys trying to get the big hit or be the hero, you get outside of your game plan and try to do too much. This group does a really good job, and we've emphasized that, and I think they'll continue to do that. It's been nice to see so far.
We could keep you and distract you a little bit further, but I know you got a game to manage as always, man. We appreciate the time and looking forward to this unique circumstance.
Thanks, boys. Good to hear
Rossi.
from you.
Appreciate it, Rossi. So the hometown boy, Jason Kipnis, down 1-2. 2-2 the count. This is a guy who was across the diamond from David Ross 4 years ago during the World Series. By the way, mark off your Chicago bingo card for Jason Kipnis, because I'm sure that's not the first time you will hear about him playing for the Indians or playing in Chicago against the White Sox a ton or being from Northbrook, Illinois.
I thought you said you weren't going to bring that up.
I was going to bring it up now as much as possible, and then we'll just set the tone.
Okay, got it.
Here, what I'm doing here, every broadcast that's going to come in and do a Cubs game from the road team this year, the opposing team, I'm just laying out the groundwork. You just copy this. You say all the things about Kipnis being from Chicago.
Copy and paste. Yep.
Copy, paste. 16 World Series with Cleveland, et cetera, et cetera. He was neighbors with Steve Bartman as a kid. Here's the 2-2.
Are you serious about that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. I didn't know that. I just learned that.
He's one of those guys that they interviewed him for a local story because there were cops surrounding Steve Bartman's house.
Wow.
And Jason's family, he has 3 siblings and 2 parents, Kay and Mark, lived down the street. And a local story interviewed Jason about it during the 2016 World Series.
You know, I was playing first base on that play for the Cubs. Did you know that?
That's right. 2003, of course. I mean, you were there. I still remember it vividly.
Huh. Well, there you go. I learned something this broadcast.
There you go.
Thanks, man. I knew there was a reason I showed up today.
That was the only goal. I was like, can I teach Karros one thing? the veteran. 3-2 to Kipnis. And he stays alive. Easily likable guy, 33 years old, from Northbrook, Illinois. Glenbrook North High School, where he was a great football player. 2nd-round draft pick of the Indians after a great career at Arizona State. A couple of all-star nods for Kipnis, who's hitting in the 8th spot in front of Ian Happ. Payoff pitch. And he gets him swinging. 2 down.
There's that cutter, slider, that thing. Again, a lot of movement, always glove side.
A little bit of sense of these Cubs. They missed the playoffs for the first time in 5 years. That was Joe Maddon's final run as manager. His old catcher, David Ross, is in. Castellanos goes to division rival Cincy. Cole Hamels goes to Atlanta. And Ben Zobrist, the World Series MVP, retired. A little bit of turnover in the lineup, more so in the pitching staff, especially in the bullpen, where some of the names are not as familiar for the Cubs. Here's Happ. Coming off his best season, 11 home runs last year. He didn't spend as much time at the big league level last year. Spent some time in the minors. After he was on the opening day roster a couple of seasons ago. Did not start the year last year at the big league level because he was really struggling with a very high strikeout rate in spring. Spent 4 months in the minors, and it was 1 year ago today where he got recalled and started a very solid stretch where he hit those 11 home runs. Hit one last night as well.
Well, and he's one of the guys in the last few years that tried to fill that leadoff void when Dexter Fowler left. I think Almora has led off one of the opening day. Schwarber.
A bunch of different leadoff guys during that stretch since Fowler signed that contract with the Cardinals after the World Series run. Rizzo is one of those guys that has been in the leadoff spot. Chris Bryant is the leadoff man for the first time in his career. This season he's on deck if Happ gets aboard. And he does. Draws a 2-out walk.
Well, in the early on so far, Burns has had a couple of walks, a hit by pitch. Again, he's not a guy that you're going to really square up. I mean, with his stuff, he makes mistakes. Contreras got a hold of one, but he digs himself into a hole, and just the location part just has not been there.
You got Bryant swinging on strikes in the first. One of 3 Ks the first time through the order for Corbin Burns. And speaking of the leadoff spot, I mean, Bryant had a good showing in his first go at it yesterday. He saw 28 pitches out of the leadoff spot in 4 at-bats. Third on the team in pitches per plate appearance a year ago behind Schwarber and Rizzo. There's a 1-0.
Well, that's the thing. In his first at-bat last night against Woodruff, he was 0-2. First 2 pitches, down 0-2. Ended up turning that thing into a 10-pitch at-bat. And so did he end up getting on? No. But he absolutely did more than enough. Up the pitch count, let the guys see what Woodruff has. And as you mentioned, you know, the next at-bat, 8 pitches. Two at-bats, 18 pitches right out of the chute.
Tied at 1 in the second, and a 1-1 pitch to Bryant from Corbin Burns. Sky high on the infield. Wants it. It'll be Sogar to close out a scoreless second. 2 innings through in Chicago. Hira, Smoke, and Garcia coming. After a couple of laborious opening frames, but he will deal with the heart of this Milwaukee order in the top of the third. Hira, Smoke, and Garcia.
Again, like I said, if you go up there right now as a Milwaukee hitter and just stood up there and took a pitch, took a strike, I mean, you probably see 3 pitches before you had a strike. It just
2-0, yeah.
I mean, and that's the thing. As a team, as hitters, you know, you want to have a team approach to a certain pitcher. You want to have a plan, because if one guy's swinging at everything and the next guy's taking, then it defeats the whole purpose. So I like that right there. You know, it's 2-0. You know, you're sitting on a fastball. Darvish is going to throw you a slider. And again, I'm still sitting here right now. I'm looking for a fastball. I am looking for a fastball.
There's a 2-1. Went with the fastball at 96. Yep. And it's hard too, E-Kick. It feels like those guaranteed fastball counts that you probably got a little bit used to. I feel like those guaranteed fastball counts have completely disappeared. I mean, it's completely different counts now.
But that's the thing. Like, if you're still looking for a fastball 2-0, then, you know, you very stupid, right? You know, it's like one of those things. You know, if a guy goes off speed, then sit off speed 2-0 or sit up.
Check swing. John Tumpain says that he went around. So Keston Hira ahead in the count 2-0 ends up striking out against Yu Darvish.
But again, why is Darvish good? He gets people to swing at pitches out of the zone. Look at the arsenal. I mean, you go up there, and this is what you've got to protect against. So you're going up there with a bat, basically playing defense. You just can't cover all that stuff. So then, how do I approach it? I approach it by looking for zones. I look for spots on the plate, quadrants.
Pitcher profile brought to us by our friends at Rocket Mortgage, and the added pitch, that was the supreme pitch that you were talking about. Darvish is going to try to add that to his arsenal. That hybrid 2-seam pitch. A 1 to Smoke is high.
Out on the rooftop.
I mean, they're essentially virtual. They're
right.
buried in the phone. I mean, it's essentially virtual.
Don't the Cubs own a lot of those rooftops? The Ricketts family, I think, they're invested in those things.
Mm-hmm. been an interesting storyline and almost soap opera over the last 10 years, those rooftops here in Chicago, and who has the ownership and the revenue rights and all of that. I think a lot of people are just happy that they can actually sit on a rooftop in July and watch a game in 2020. 1-2 pitch and a beautiful off-speed delivery to freeze Smoke. Back-to-back strikeouts from Darvish to start the third.
Here's the breaking ball right here. And that's a thing that when you watch Darvish, I mean, look, you can't go out of the zone. You can't give him strikes because he can be so electric, and he can just throw 3 pitches, you go grab some bench. I mean, you can't do him any favors, and that's why he's so tough to hit against.
So here's Garcia, who had a long at bat that ended in a strikeout to close out that first inning with runners on base. 96 from Darvish.
96 running in on the hands. So now we're going to get something, some sort of slider running away probably. I mean, hitting is, you know, with all due respect to every other sport, sorry, it's the toughest thing to do.
That's why we still marvel at a home run. Still one of the most impressive feats in sports. Here's the 0-1. Drift out of play for Hayward.
0-2. It's a wonderful spot to be in when you're facing a guy like Darvish. Jeez.
Which one of those 11 do you want to do?
Right about I mean,
third-year Cub, Yu Darvish, big contract, $126 million. Caratini wants it low. And then that's where it goes at 97. Maybe one of the harder pitches we've seen from Darvish today.
but you see, you know, even with nobody on base, Caratini is afraid or concerned with Garcia getting the sign or knowing where the location is. He's setting up down like I want it down, but he was really looking for a high fastball there.
You saw that in his motion too. He put his glove low, started to crouch out, and then Darvish ended up throwing low and outside. That time was trying to hit that low and outside spot and did, but Garcia did not chase.
Coming upon 60 pitches, just 3 innings.
Talked to David Ross about that today, hoping for about 85 if he can get there from Darvish, just based on where he's been. Here's his 2-2. And Garcia chased it out of the zone. Yu Darvish strikes out the side, and now Javier Baez will come up to the plate. In the Cubs half of the third, we're tied at 1 in Wrigley. Two, 3, and 4 in the Cubs order due up here in the home half of the third against Corbin Burnes, Anthony Rizzo, Javier Baez, Kyle Schwarber. Tough part of the order, but a strike to start Rizzo. Rizzo walked and scored the lone Cub run on a Wilson Contreras base hit. Corbin Burnes, originally from Bakersfield, California. 4th round pick out of St. Mary's in 2016. Was a really good St. Mary's team.
Right.
Tony Gonsolin was on that team, who's playing for the Dodgers now.
Hey, Gonsolin was an outfielder on that team and then would come in and close games. Man, those 2 arms on that ball club. Wow.
2 top 10 round picks on one college team. Made his debut 2 Julys ago. Ended up winning Game 3 of the NLDS against the Rockies in 2018. He's pitched big moments already in his young career. Rizzo showed bunt, pulled it back, but it's 2-2. Burns started last year in the rotation, made 4 starts, then moved to the pen and really struggled. Never really found that groove that he found for a good chunk out of the bullpen 2 years ago. Rizzo went chasing that one out of the zone. That was 95. That was tough. 1 down. For the first time, Kevin Burkhardt's got a game break. What's up, my man?
Adam, welcome to Fox, my friend. Good to have you aboard. Well, we know the biggest question for the Red Sox coming into this year is their pitching, and that is on display at Fenway today. Renato Nunez, a 2-run double, but the Orioles' offense is clicking. Already a 5-0 lead, bottom of 2. Adam, back to you.
A little different than last night, huh? Red Sox put up 13 in a Nathan Eovaldi win against the Orioles. Baltimore getting the best so far today. Here's Javi Baez with 1 out and the bases empty. Cutting away as he often does on the first pitch.
Right, Burns going with the slider. Remember in the last at bat he hit him with that fastball running in. You know, will he go in at all this at bat?
Right back to it, trying to get him to chase further out and extend. It's the right thing to do with Baez. He chased out of the zone more than any other player in baseball last year on the first pitch. As aggressive of a hitter as there is in Major League Baseball. A 1-1.
See, I don't like the fastball up out of the zone. I mean, I know Baez is aggressive, but you know, as a hitter, if it doesn't even look like it's something I can get after, I'm just going to take it. It's a wasted pitch, and now it's a 2-1 count. I got to come back with something like a slider away, maybe. There.
Yep, that's what, the 3rd slider away he's thrown in this at bat, and John Tumpain says Baez went that time, so it's 2-2.
I'm just staying out there. I go with a fastball, you know, maybe cut it a little bit, go outside.
Two. And Baez chased again. EK, you had it pretty much down to point, staying away from Baez, and that helps out Burns for a strikeout.
I mean, everybody knows what they want to do, and the problem is executing it, and that's what separates the good, the great, the guys that are in the league for a number of years. You know, can you consistently execute? I mean, it's not really, it's not rocket science. You know, how you attack guys or how you approach certain pitchers, but again, the ability to execute.
So 2 down for Kyle Schwarber, who struck out looking his first time. 97 outside to the lefty. A lot of pitches in the first couple of innings for both Darvish and Burns. Now Burns trying to finish off a much more efficient 3rd against Schwarber. No shock to see 3 defenders on the right side for Milwaukee. Here's the 1-0. Brewers shift a lot. They were top 10 in Major League Baseball in shifts last year. Craig Counsell does a very good job of navigating that, putting his guys in good positions. We talked about this infield. It's not great arms in this infield, so the positioning is that much more important.
Well, not a lot of action this 3rd inning. I mean, we've recorded 5 outs in the 3rd inning so far, all on strikeouts.
Yep. Took a couple of innings maybe for these guys on the bump to settle in. Two one. High leverage count for the Cubs cleanup hitter against Burns here.
Fastball away. Got to stay away.
The guy who threw 99 at times last year on his fastball. Got 96 that time, and Schwarber trying to catch up. I'll remind you that Bud Light is giving baseball fans everywhere a chance to win a 2020 authentic home run ball. That's virtual and real fans alike. You can check out the hashtag Bud Light Homers on social to learn more. Must be 21 or over to enter. Chance to strike out the side in a perfect third. 3-2. Schwarber will extend the frame to Contreras with a walk.
Well, Burns didn't want to mess around with anything over the plate or in the inside part of the plate. Swing of the bat would mean 1 run possibly. Start over here with Contreras. Remember last time Contreras had a base hit, but it was a fastball that was supposed to be outside. It was a sinker, kind of ran it back to the middle part of the plate.
He got his hands around it to pull it for an RBI base hit.
Don't ever say that about a hitter, getting your hands around it. They've got to be inside the ball.
Yeah, apparently I'm blaspheming right now.
Oh, my goodness.
Two-out walk to Schwarber. Setting up an 0-1 to Wilson Contreras. And there's that slider once again from Burns. Here's a little context on that slider. There were 78 sliders thrown in Major League Baseball last year that were 94 miles an hour or harder. All but 5 of them came from Jacob deGrom and Zach Wheeler. In spring training back in February, this guy threw a 94-mile-an-hour slider for a strikeout of Matt Olson of the Oakland A's, who had a walk-off grand slam last night to win the opener against the Angels. I mean, there are not a lot of guys that have that specific velocity and movement on that pitch in this league, and Burns is one of those guys.
God, your elbow just has to be going, no, don't throw it that hard. Not the slider that hard.
The 1-1. And he got jammed, did Contreras. Fouls it off.
Well, so that, see, the thing about that is historically, Burns, everything goes to the glove side. Meaning when he's facing home plate, his glove side, that's where the pitches end up. So one of the things that he's been able to do over the last few months is get his pitches almost to, I don't want to say a sinker, but to run to the arm side. Well, Contreras right there diving out over the plate because, again, I'm thinking it's going to go glove side. Runs in. It's a defensive swing. He's shaking his head. You know, that's why I think that caught Baez a little bit earlier when he got hit is, you know, again, Burns isn't trying to hit anybody, but that ball is running in now. One, two. I'd come. He's going to go away, but I'd come right back in.
See if he goes back to that. Nice slider outside, swing and a miss. He strikes out the side. Does Corbin Burns, just as Darvish did in the top of the inning. We're tied. Tom Payne, Jose Navas, and Jeff Nelson are umpiring crew for this game as we head to the 4th. The reason they're discussing things is because during that last break, it's got a little bit heated as some Cubs players were outside of the dugout screaming to the other side. Christian Yelich at one point jumped the dugout and started to just amble his way towards the field. Obviously, we see this under normal circumstances as well, but it's a little bit more amplified when there are no fans. You kind of just hear what's going on, and Jeff Nelson and John Tumpane talking with Craig Counsell about all of that.
Yeah, I think it goes back to Baez getting hit earlier, and then Contreras didn't like the pitch inside. And, the reality is Burns, he just doesn't have his control today, right? And, he's a bit erratic. But he's not trying to hit anybody. He's not going after anybody. I think more than anything is, you may be able to hear guys more, obviously, from the dugouts. And so, a lot of times when you played in the past, I mean, guys would be mouthing off and popping off, but it would get drowned out. So now you hear it. So it's like, okay, you want to say something? And again, it's, everybody's going to run around like a peacock and put their feathers up and everything.
Remember, with all the precautions, protocols being taken by Major League Baseball, in fact, they sent out a 100-page protocol guide and manual. They were really trying to emphasize all of these different precautions that they wanted to take for all the teams this year. Fighting is going to be one of those things that is pretty much outlawed now at this point just because of distancing. This is one of the few professional sports where you can kind of socially distance, and Major League Baseball is trying to cut down on more fraternizing, happy or angry, either way over the course of this, again, unique season.
Yeah, I'm going to see how that works. Oh, wait. No, it says right here, hey, guys, everybody calm down. It says here in the COVID rules that we're not allowed to fight. We're not doing that. I mean.
Narvaez leading off the fourth, and he'll get hit by Darvish trying to get out of the way. And he'll take first base. So a very odd last few minutes. Craig Counsell, we were expecting in between innings, but obviously he had some matters to take care of. Craig, if you can give us any insight to that, how did you feel about what just went down these last few minutes? Anything you can give us?
Well, I think this is going to be part of this season. I mean, both dugouts can hear each other, and umpires can hear everything, and so it's there's talking that goes on in a game. You never hear it with all the fans here, and it's part of the game. It's competitiveness. It's all it is.
All right, so give me Burns so far. I mean, he looked like he had too much adrenaline a little early on.
As Kane puts one towards the gap, cut off by the center fielder Happ. That'll keep Narvaez at second.
Yeah, I think he did. I think he's settled down and thrown the ball really well, actually. He's done his job for sure. He was a little scattered, but that's who he is. You see the stuff, and you just got to harness it, and you see when he starts to harness it, what it looks like. It's pretty darn good.
This offense for your club, we know what Yelich can do, but there are a lot of new faces for your group, Craig, this year. What's the thing that you're most excited about as this 60-game experiment takes place?
I think we got a very deep, interchangeable bunch, so I think we have a lot of directions we can go, and whether it be hot hands or matchups or things like that, I think we got a lot of things we can play.
Craig Counsell, the manager of the Milwaukee Brewers. Weird circumstances, we know. Thanks for the time, Craig, as always.
You got it. Take care, guys.
Thanks, Counsell.
Longest tenured manager in the National League now, Craig Counsell.
Right, that just speaks to the, I don't know, non-stability. I mean, how difficult it is to be a big league manager.
There's a 1-0 to Gamble. Off the glove of Caratini on a very high pitch, and both Narvaez and Kane can cruise up 90 feet. And now the Cubs getting into a little bit of a tougher spot. The Brewers with a real opportunity here in the fourth.
This thing just gets away, and you hear the banter going in between dugouts and everything, and it's you wonder if that first hitter Narvaez, he gets hit. So does he get hit on purpose? Were they throwing it? And now look at what we've got developing here. Oh gosh!
Gamble hammers one, well struck, and that will get into the gap to score two. The Brewers will take a 3-1 lead. Gamble racing around second. He's gunning for a triple, and he's got it. Ben Gamble delivers the summer camp MVP, carrying it over into his first start of the season.
I mean, this pitch just up in the zone right here, and not a lot of action on it. Leaks out over the plate. Gamble just absolutely crushes this thing, and this is how you answer, right? There's some banter going on back and forth, and Milwaukee comes right out. They get on base, couple base hits here, and next thing you know, they put 2 runs on the board.
28-year-old delivers to put Milwaukee in front against Darvish. And here's the 9-hitter Arcia. Continuing to be aggressive after he swung at the first pitch. His first time up, he popped out. Darvish closing in on 70 pitches now. Remember, this was a bullpen that did not have to work yesterday due to the complete game from Kyle Hendricks. Bunt shown. Arcia puts it down at the line at first. Almost like a safety squeeze type of play, but Gamble is going to read it right and stay at third base. They'll get the out.
Yeah, you see Arcia when he was running down at first, he's trying to like wave Gamble in, right? You know, like, yeah, you should be running right here.
Speaking of the bullpen, there's Dwayne Underwood Jr. loosening up for the Cubs. Those bullpens buried away here at Wrigley Field after their renovation a few years back. Tommy Hotovy is the Cubs pitching coach in his second season, 39-year-old. Talking with Darvish and company. Well, if you haven't checked it out yet, we debuted a brand new Fox Sports app and website this week. It's awesome. It's very modern, very sleek. The ultimate app for today's sports fan is here. You can download it right now. Talk about teams to watch coming up in September, including the Los Angeles Dodgers, who you'll see in action later today in the third game of their 4-game series against their rival San Francisco Giants. Joe Davis, A.J. Pierzynski will be along in just a little bit. Dodgers look really sharp offensively out of the gate and outscored the Giants 17-2.
Well, I think that's a combination. The Dodgers are really good and the Giants are not.
Here's Eric Sogard back at the top of the order. Well, Dodgers, to their credit, did it without Clayton Kershaw, who missed the opening day start for a second straight year. Back issue. Hoping to be back soon. Good MRI results last night. And they threw Dustin May and Ross Stripling instead of Clayton Kershaw and maybe Walker Buehler the first 2 games out of the game.
Well,
Sogard
again,
takes a strike.
You know, what is going to separate any team that gets to the postseason and does well this season in particular is depth. And whether it's dealing with injuries, dealing with COVID response, you know, so many different issues, but depth is what is going to allow a team to win, and the Dodgers are one of those few teams that are as good as any when you talk about players.
Well, bouncer back to Darvish. He'll look Gamble back to the bag and gets a big second out. And again, this is the spot in the order, the bottom third of the order for the Brewers that has done good things today already and giving Christian Yelich another chance later in an inning with runners on base. He's got Gamble at third and 2 out. Still seeking his first hit of the young season.
Well, that run's so important at third base for the Milwaukee to play, just because, you know, with a 2-run lead, that's a walk and a home run. Boom, you're a tie game. If you can get a 3-run lead, changes the way you approach the other team, your pitching situation, how you go after hitters.
1 strike offering. Yelich muscling it towards right. Hayward is there, and that'll do it for the Brewers in the 4th. But Ben Gamble stepping up in his first start as a Milwaukee Brewer. He's got his first triple as a Brewer. Drives in a pair. Narvaez and Kane score, and the Brewers have the lead through 3.5. Jason Hayward takes the first pitch of the bottom of the fourth for a ball. 6, 7, and 8 due up for the Cubs in the home half of the fourth against Corbin Burnes, who, after a little bit of a shaky first inning, has certainly done better to settle in. Hayward to ground out his first time up, and he's ahead of the count.
You know, and this is the part of the Cubs lineup that is really going to have to contribute, I should say. Nobody's asking them to carry things, but this is the group that turns the lineup over, you know, to the big five.
On the outside corner for a strike.
See, and that changes the whole complexion of an at-bat right there.
Yep.
You know, that should be 3-0 right there. Now you're 2-1. You probably get a slider or something here. Maybe 2-2 in a second.
Sure enough.
I mean, that pitch, again, it's one pitch, but as a hitter, I can truly appreciate Jason Hayward right now just going, you got to be kidding me, CB. You got it.
Burnes walking the first, ended up scoring. He hit a batter in Baez that inning. He's walked the man in Happ and walked the man in Schwarber in the third. Hayward puts it on the ground, punching it over to Hira in the shift. Going down. Well, MLB.TV brings you every regular season out-of-market game of the 2020 season live or on demand. You can watch the game's biggest and brightest stars every night on MLB.TV. I've got it up right now, in fact. Stream games, got the highlights, recaps, all available on your favorite devices. Blackouts and other restrictions apply. You can visit MLB.TV. We expected to see Brent Suter, and the left-hander is loosening up for the Brewers after they had to dip into their bullpen a little bit last night. There's Caratini.
How about the contrast to that? You go from Burnes to Suter. I mean, that's crazy. You talk about disrupting a hitter's timing. I mean, you couldn't pick two polar opposites.
Yeah. Outside.
Burnes has only given up one hit, and that was a single.
That's the only ball that's left the infield, the Contreras
Right.
RBI.
I mean, that's why you can see why Milwaukee is excited about this kid.
Caratini puts it on the ground. It's a fair ball down the line past the diving Smoke. A weird carom picked up by Garcia, but good enough to hold Caratini to a one-out single.
Change up right here, and as you would say, he gets his hands around the ball, which he does. I mean, that's truly, that's what he did. He just kind of reached and wrapped it around and just inside the line.
Justin Smoke, a very good defender at first base, unable to get that extension on it. Let's see if that's going to be it. Craig Counsell will come out to check on Corbin Burnes as he has tossed his 75th pitch, and indeed it is his final one of the day. Looks like Brent Suter will come on with the lefty-lefty matchup. He'll have to face at least 3 batters or finish the inning. Today's call to the bullpen, it is brought to us by Jim Beam. And first appearance for Brent Suter out of the Milwaukee bullpen. The left-hander will face Jason Kipnis. And again, one of the adjustments in this 2020 season, Brent Suter, as a left-hander, must face at least 3 batters, or if he closes out this inning, he would not be required to face another one in the next frame. If he were to come out, he would have to face at least 1 more batter. He has to face a total of 3 for coming in as a reliever.
Well, you see Burnes right. You see Burnes right there. That just, you know, the 3 walks and the hit by pitch. I mean, he was his own worst enemy. But he, again, it wasn't as if the Cubs got to him. I mean, he got to himself right there. So you walk out of this outing and you say, yeah, you know, I wish I could have given him maybe another inning or two,
right.
a bit more pitch efficient. But as I said, you got to be thrilled with what he did.
I'm sure the line's not going to look good to a lot of people. And I don't know, again, this point of the season, who knows how you contextualize it. There's nothing else to go off of. But if you're a fan of Corbin Burnes and want him to do well, you can see why people in Milwaukee are very high on him. The electric slider, really good stuff. Kipnis with a little flare down the right field line, a fair ball. On his way to third, Caratini. And he will hold up there as Kipnis slides into second with a double. First extra base hit at Wrigley since that home run during the World Series a few years ago.
Well, here's the changeup right here. Kipnis just shoots it down the right field line. You know, it's interesting because when you're bringing lefty versus lefty, you know, Suter's not your conventional guy. He's got the curveball. He's not going to throw very hard. Changeup. You know, I think he'll be more effective against the right-handed hitters. Run that thing away. And again, such a contrast to what they just saw in Burnes.
Now faces the 9-hitter Ian Happ with 2 in scoring position. And tying runs are on base. Here in the bottom of the 4th for Happ, who walked in his first trip.
You got to run something away from Happ. Hope he rolls over.
Trying to stay away there. Suter, a guy who's had Tommy John surgery in his career. He was a starter a couple of years ago before the Tommy John surgery. Came back last September. Bouncing ball to the left side. Here's a throw home, and they've got Caratini in another rundown. And he'll be out. Kipnis will take third. Staying at first base is Happ. He was unable to get further than about a quarter of the way up the line. And they get the second out and prevent a run from coming home. Still a 2-run game.
Yeah, really a nice job by Narvaez. So watch him. He gets a ball. He recognizes Kipnis getting to third, so he is not going to make any throws, not going to risk putting the ball into left field. He will run the runner back. Boom, he tags him. He also prevents Happ from getting to second base. Really a nice defensive play right there.
Caratini the second out. Narvaez tagging out his counterpart. And now Suter back to the top of the lineup. Here is Bryant. Tying runs aboard here in the bottom of the 4th. And a high strike.
I'll tell you what, you better speak quick here, Adam, because Suter just gets the ball and throws.
He goes.
Gets the ball and throws. I mean, there is no time for breathing or anything.
Kicking the pitch. Bryant rolls over one. And an easy play for Hira. Good pick at first base by Smoke. And the Brewers prevent the Cubs from scoring. This MLB on Fox telecast is presented by Rocket Mortgage. Beautiful day in Chicago. Beautiful Millennium Park. And Dwayne Underwood will step in. Turned 26 this week. 2nd round pick back in 2012 out of Georgia. 12 appearances a year ago. Or 2 years ago, beg your pardon.
Got a live arm. No
Very
question
live.
about that.
That and a very good changeup for Dwayne Underwood. He'll deal with the heart of the Brewer order with Hira, Smoke, and Garcia. 3, 4, and 5. Yu Darvish done for the day after just 4 frames. First offering to Hira is in there for a strike at 94.
So while the Cubs have brought in another pitcher, it's not a stark difference from Darvish, right? You're, as a hitter, okay, I've been seeing guy that's been coming at me pretty hard, a lot of movement. You know, and you get the same thing. Milwaukee, though, you went from one extreme to the other. And
sure.
You saw what happened. You know, you get a ground ball rollover, you get another ground ball rollover. Guys out in front.
1-1 back to Underwood. Good snare. Toss to Rizzo to get Hira out. One away.
Little PFP right here, Adam. Pitcher fielding practice. Boom. Got that. And just kind of flips it over.
Like Underwood making his season debut today. Last year, his season debut very good. There's Smoke. Single and a strikeout so far today for Justin. Real possibility for a bounce back year this year for Justin Smoke. He's had very good numbers at various points in his career. We talked about that great season he had 3 years ago with the Blue Jays when he was an all-star. More effective from this side of the plate. Take a 1-0.
Yeah, and one of the things you mentioned too, you know, you say a real chance for a bounce back year because of the DH. This allows him an opportunity to play every day, right? And
sure.
maybe even play first every day. And I understand some other guys will get some time, but
Justin Smoke sends one deep to right field.
That's gone, huh?
That's gone. Man, it is interesting to try to tell where these balls are going, and Justin Smoke connects and rudely greets Dwayne Underwood in his first inning of the season. 4-1 Brewers on top.
You know how I knew that was gone? I'm listening to the dugout sounds, and I'm hearing, rah, rah.
That's all you got to go by right now, EK.
See, this pitch up in the zone, maybe even out of the zone, but it's out over the plate, so Smoke's able to get to it. He's just watching that thing. It hits the fair pole, foul pole, whatever you want to call it. But again, how do I know it's gone? Rah, rah!
Waiting to hear that bang and the hollow sound of it. You could probably hear it through Wrigley Field if you're sitting somewhere close by. You said it. There's a chance, based on where his numbers have been in his entire career, if he goes back to where he's been just on an average year, he's going to put together a massive improvement from 19 to 20.
And that's what they're counting on, right? They want the Justin Smoke 2017 version. And again, you put him in Miller Park, and what a great hitting place. The center field, the backdrop there is one of the best in baseball.
Smoke hit just 208 last year, but there's that stat, and you kind of heard about it the last year's batting average on balls in play, right? Like when you put the ball in play, what is the result of that? And that number is a good indicator as to what you do over a large sample size. And Justin Smoke's batting average on balls in play is way higher than what it was a year ago. So that basically gives you a sense that if he goes back to where he's been average-wise, it's going to be good numbers as Underwood strikes out Garcia. There it is, off the foul pole.
Game of inches, right? Game of inches. And if you're pitching or you're a Cubs fan, you're saying, man, can a guy get 6 inches here?
The 2 down for Narvaez, who has scored one of the now 4 Milwaukee runs in this game. That one came inside on him.
Hit him, right?
Looked like he was hopping around as if it got him in his foot.
I'm writing down hit by pitch.
Yeah, well, he's tossing the bat, so he's headed down.
Yeah, it's just an off-speed pitch. Big breaking ball, actually. Sharp breaking ball. Not sure if that got him right on the... Oh, right in the shin.
Yep, on the shin.
2 times today. Yeah, just saying, he opened up, right? Flew open. And
so Underwood already with a tough start. Giving up the solo home run to Smoke, now hitting Narvaez with 2 outs. And now having to deal with Lorenzo Cain, who's got a couple of base hits already and a couple of runs scored.
And, you just mentioned a couple runs scored in the base hits, but I'd argue that the most impactful thing he's done today, getting that run down.
Yes.
And then direct traffic during that rundown, right? I mean, ended up leading to 2 runs.
Here's an 0-1 to Kane. Just missed outside. It's nuts. We had a couple of people let us know. I mean, Kane did something very similar a couple of years ago to Baez in a rundown against the Cubs. And you saw how frustrated Baez was a couple of innings ago on that play that Kane got into the rundown on as he waves at that breaking ball.
Sorry, that led to 1 run that inning.
Yeah, the Kane run was a lone run in that inning.
Yeah.
In the second, but that play, you're absolutely right. He's pulled that before. Trying to keep the inning alive on a 1-2 pitch from Underwood.
One of the things, the way this game is developing, one of the strengths of Craig Counsell and the Brewers has been his ability to use his bullpen. And specifically September's the last 2 years. We're here in the bullpen. And he's going to have to navigate his way through 9 innings.
He's chested down by Caratini. Narvaez not exactly fleet of foot. He'll stay at first base.
Yeah, so he just spikes this thing way out in front. Caratini gets a bare hand on it. The perils of catching.
See him kind of protecting that right hand a little bit. Runner will be going on this 3-2 pitch from Underwood to Kane. On the ground towards short, grabbed by Baez. As if Baez and Kane haven't already been interconnected in this game. And halfway through. Today's telecast is sponsored by T-Mobile, America's most reliable 5G coverage, and by Applebee's Irresistibles. Look at the Chicago River, downtown, the LaSalle and Franklin bridges. Dearborn as you go further east down towards Michigan Avenue. You go a little further north, and here you are at Wrigley. We're past the halfway point of this second game of this 2020 season. 2, 3, and 4 for the Cubs against the reliever Brent Suter. And Anthony Rizzo, Javi Baez, and Kyle Schwarber do up. Rizzo looks at a ball. It's 1-1. He has scored the lone Cubs run of the day after he walked against Corbin Burns in the first and scored on a Wilson Contreras base hit. Rizzo pops one foul.
See Suter just going right after him. Again, as we talked about earlier, I mean, there is no messing around. He just gets the ball and chucks it. You got to love playing defense behind a guy like this.
Gets it and goes, and Rizzo fouls it sharply away. Introducing Quick Pick, MLB Rally's new predictive game that offers fans the opportunity to pick outcomes and compete for prizes, cash prizes, in fact. Make your predictions count. Play Quick Pick. No purchase necessary. 21 and over to compete. Restrictions apply. You can see official rules at MLB.com/QuickPick.
There was no way you were getting that in.
Oh, well, I was thinking about
pitches.
that as soon as we started the promo. I was like, Eric said that he's gonna get it and go. So I'm thankful that there was a ball away.
I was kind of hoping. I was kind of thinking, he might get 2 pitches.
He might get like halfway through this thing.
Yeah, well, Adam's reading this thing. That's I'd put that on my bucket list, man. It's
the wonders of television, folks, where the pitchers dictate our tempo. There's a 2-2. So again, pops it off to the left. This time keeps it in play for Gamble. A good defender leans in to make the catch. So 1 down for Javier Baez. Now, if you were Craig Counsell and you had somebody in the bullpen, a right-hander, say if you wanted to make that move, not saying you will, especially with a lefty on deck, you could bring in a right-hander for a situational spot here because Suter has already faced the minimum. These will be some of the things that are added to the tapestry of decision-making for managers in baseball this year.
Right. That's why I think as important as managers are, bench coaches are going to be just as important this year because of, you know, the situational thinking that's going to have to take place. You know, in this instance right now, you got a 4-1 lead. You know, Suter has started in the past. He works quick. And because he's got a lead, you know, the other team may be a bit more aggressive, and that would play right into his hands.
Big cut from Baez, and it's 2-2. With all the new managers that are taking over this year, there's 10 new managers in Major League Baseball this season. Baez shoots one through the hole and into right center for a base hit.
Well, when you said Craig Counsell's the longest tenured manager nationally, and you know, so you know, typically that's, well, what's he got? 10 years, 13 years? You dropped a 5 on me. I said, you got to be kidding me. See all those new managers right there. Dusty, congratulations on him. There's no way it should have been that long in between wins. No way.
3,500 managerial wins now for Dusty Baker after the opening victory against the Mariners. Former Cub manager, of course, and obviously was a big reason you came to Chicago for the second half of that great season where the Cubs went to the NLCS. That was a year after Dusty had taken the Giants to the World Series.
Correct. Yep. Uh-oh.
Kyle Schwarber drills one way back. That one is a no-doubter, and this is a one-run game.
See, that's the thing with Suter is he doesn't have stuff to get left-handers out. I mean, if I'm a left-handed hitter, I could just stand on the plate. You saw Kipnis get him. I mean, he got Rizzo, but it's just not really a great matchup. And Schwarber just gets on top of this thing. This is a little cutter and absolutely demolishes it. It's out over the plate. Obviously, if you're going to go out over the plate, you can't really be up in the zone. You just can't be up in the zone.
Either that's got to be further outside or that's got to be way
It's got to be
right?
down. Yeah, it's got to be down or it's got to be further out. It just
Gotcha. Well, Schwarber changes the complexion of the game, and Contreras was trying to tie it with one swing. He has the other Cub RBI of the day. That was back in the first to give them the early lead. This guy makes big contact and makes it often. Kyle Schwarber. Huge power numbers coming off his best season. He has slimmed down in the last couple of years after that horrific knee injury early in 2016. The collision with Fowler. Came back for the playoffs, came back for the World Series specifically. But these last couple of years, slimmed down, a little quicker with the bat. And a lot of power, too. Drops foul.
Well, when you talk about the top 5 guys in this Cubs lineup, I mean, every one of them is going to put a good at bat against you, can hit the ball a mile, is dangerous, and as a pitcher, you've got to try and figure. There's no rest, and there's no real weakness for any of those guys as far as, I'm going to throw it here, and if I make a mistake, they're not going to really hurt me, because they can all do serious damage.
I'm thinking about a team that we're going to see after this game when you and me are done here. EK,
right.
We got the Dodgers coming up. I mean, you want to talk 1 through 5s with now Mookie Betts at the top of that order.
Yeah, I mean, the Dodgers, I'd even, not to homer, but I'd go 1 through about 12. I mean, seriously, they've got guys on the bench that it just, the at-bats and their approach, and I mean, it's as good as anybody.
1-2, and Contreras goes down swinging. Took a little off that, did Suter. 2 down.
Right, I mean, against right-handed hitters, he is much more effective. Again, you're going to be rolling things over. You look at most home runs for Chicago Cub through their first 5 seasons. Got 3 out of the 5 guys are on this team right now.
And obviously one of the major storylines coming will be, will all of these players, these active players, Bryant, Schwarber, Rizzo, Baez, Contreras in that mix as well. Will they be Cubs beyond 2022? The window is closing at least a little bit. That sense is starting to come over this organization that with these big contracts, Hayward being one of them for a few more years, that window might be closing just because of the financial circumstances. And obviously this year throw a big wrench into it as well.
Right. And the thing, too, that makes it unique is, so, you know, we're looking at Chris Bryant and Rizzo and Schwarber, Baez, all these guys, but they've won a World Series. So you can check that off the box.
Sure.
Bryant has won an MVP. Check that off the box. They've had, so what is the reality? What is the next best thing or the next big thing? I've got to go out and get paid. I mean, that's just a reality. And, you know, are all three of them, are you know, going to get paid in Chicago? No, that's the other reality. That ain't happening. Not happening.
And those are the two sides of it, right? It's can you keep the team together with the structure that is in place? And this was the run under Joe Maddon.
Yep.
Arguably the golden era of Cubs baseball. You get a World Series. You have one of the best 5-year runs ever. Hayward takes a close one. In fact, it's a Cubs record up until last year where they missed the playoffs of making the playoffs in consecutive seasons. So, you know, coming off of that with only one World Series title seemed to be a little bit of a disappointment even after the euphoria of winning it a few years ago. 2-2 to Hayward, sharply hit on the right side, but smoke is there. And that'll do it for the Cubs. Schwarber ties it with gets him to within 1 with the home run through 5. Now let's take a look at the trailer of The Fugitive, starring Kiefer Sutherland and Boyd Holbrook, coming this August on Quibi. This MLB on Fox telecast is presented by Rocket Mortgage. 4-3 Brewers have the lead as we head to the 6th. The Kyle Schwarber 2-run home run for the Cubs has them within 1. And now it'll be up to Big Brad Wick to try to keep this game where it's at. And this guy has some size, 6'8", 257. Big Texan, 28 years of age. Good curveball. And he'll deal with 8, 9, and 1 in the Brewer order. Ben Gamel will lead things off.
Came over from the Padres. That's where he had been in the past, I should say.
Debuted with them in 2018 after 6 years muscling through the minors. Brad Wick on the outside corner.
You know, David Ross telling us that, you know, one of the things is the bullpen. Obviously, I mean, there's a lot of discussion with the Cubs and who is going to step up and fill that role or fill those roles, getting the ball to Craig Kimbrell.
Gamble pops it up. Baez has to battle the sun. He's there for out number 1. Get to Kimbrell is the goal, as we talked to David Ross today, and obviously it's the goal for any managers to get to your closer, but how do you get there? And this is a bullpen that hasn't had a ton of development, so they're looking on the free agent market and the trade market to find guys to fill in a role. Brad Wick was one of the guys that they felt really performed at a solid level. Guys like him, Rowan Wick towards the back end of the pen, Kyle Ryan. There's Arcia. Not a lot of household names in this Cubs bullpen until you get to Kimbrell.
Right, and you know, David Ross saying he hopes these guys become household names, right, in a positive way, that he can, some guys step up, they establish themselves, they take on roles.
1-1 on Arcia.
Yeah, I think one of the things that'll be interesting, you know, some of these guys are younger guys or less experienced guys. So the atmosphere that they're playing in without the fans, without the stress, without the pressure that sometimes brings because of the situations, the adrenaline, the excitement. And so you remove that, and will some guys benefit because of that?
James Norwood, the 26-year-old, loosening up. Another young guy, right?
Yep.
In terms of experience in the big leagues. 1-2 on the number 9 hitter for the Brewers. And Arcia looks like he went around. And it's a strikeout and 2 down for Wick here in the 6th. Well, Friday we've got an all-new SmackDown on Fox featuring 2 huge championship matches. We got the women's champion Bayley taking on the number 1 challenger Nikki Cross, and then AJ Styles will defend his Intercontinental title, plus an all-new Firefly Funhouse on the next Friday night SmackDown, only on Fox. Hard to social distance, though, when you're dropping an elbow.
Right.
Is all I'm saying. Back to the top and Eric Sogard. Two down in the 6th for Sogard, who has an RBI back in the 2nd. He's been retired a couple of times as well. Sogard, we mentioned the new faces. Travis Shaw's gone. Signed a deal with Toronto, although he didn't have a great season last year compared to where he had been the previous couple of years. Mike Moustakas, who had an all-star year, career numbers. He declined his option. He goes to Cincinnati and gets paid. 3-0 on Sogard. Yasmani Grandal goes across this town to the White Sox on a big free agent deal for $73 million. Eric Thames is gone as well. I mean, this is a different looking lineup. Thames joining the defending World Series champions, the Nationals.
Right, and that's the thing. You know, offensively, I look, and yes, there is some potential there, and you hope for some development with Keston here, and then Smoke returning to his form. But I just, you know, I'm not sure I can jump on board yet, right?
Sure.
And then, you know, how did those guys impact Christian Yelich? You know, Moustakas hitting home runs, Grandal. You know, even Eric Thames when he was, you know, hitting balls everywhere.
So here is Yelich. 2 down and a man on here in the 6th. 0 for 7 so far. Early part of the campaign. Take one right down the heart of the plate for a strike. Check out today's Man on the Run, sponsored by The Fugitive. The last 2 years, arguably, and certainly can make as good of a case for him as anybody, maybe the best player in the National League, maybe the best player in baseball. I'm sure Mike Trout would have something to say about that. Plenty. In fact, he'd have plenty to say about that. But Christian Yelich certainly, these last 2 seasons, has been as good as just about anybody.
Like I said, if I'm an opposing team, right, and not to say that, look, you didn't pick out Yelich and say that guy's not beating me. That goes without saying. But the alternative this year to go after other guys is much more appealing than, you know, it was Moustakas or Grandal.
There's a 1-1. Good breaking ball. There's that curve from Wick for a strike. These are some of the guys that you could probably make the best cases for, I would say. Between Yelich, Bellinger, and Trout, these might be the 3 best performances over the course of the last 2 years. And Trout did it even through injury. Trout has done it without swinging the bat as much. He's done it as a guy who's observed a little bit more, taken more pitches. Bellinger's expanded his game. We've seen the development of Yelich. Man, these guys have been fun to watch.
Yeah, they are. You know, there's another guy on that list that I'd throw on there. Is Mookie Betts.
Sure. And he'll have a real opportunity to prove himself now.
Yep.
In that big spot with the huge contract freshly signed this week. In fact, more money on his contract than Mike Trout had is on his previous record deal.
And I would argue that the Dodgers got a deal there. And I could sit here and talk for 15 minutes about why that's a great signing for the organization. But Mookie Betts, one of the great talents in the game.
Just 27 years old, told 28 in October. Here's the 1-2. Yelich puts it in the air, deep. Happ looking up, turning around and watching it go. Just kept carrying for Christian Yelich, right on cue, his first hit of the season, and it puts the Brewers in front by 3.
Take that, summer camp. Take that, blue gold games.
Think about that intra-squad scrimmage. What a shot by Yelich.
Oh, this is just a four-seamer that is ready for takeoff. Man, he absolutely gets a hold of that.
Oof, that sound.
Right?
Maybe a little more amplified without the fans, huh?
You hear the duck? Oh, that's the best. That is the best.
Oh, just some of the unique nuances of enjoying baseball in the year 2020.
Like, seriously, I might like that better than some of the calls, right?
Sure.
You know, you have these famous home run calls, but you hear that from the dugout. Arriba, arriba.
Oh, my goodness. Christian Yelich, after 44 of those a year ago, a career high, gets his first of the season and does it against Brad Wick here in the 6th to extend the lead. Now that 2-out walk to Sogard hurts even more.
Right. You know, I'll tell you, I don't care if you're trying to hang on in the big leagues or if you're a superstar like Yelich. That ball right there, you hit that, and after having struggled for the last couple of weeks, whether it was summer camp or even last night, you're going to get some sleep tonight. You can put your head down and you're not staring at the ceiling going, man, what is going on?
Yep.
What is, and every player goes through it. And that is just a big exhale right there.
Big weight off the shoulders,
Sure
I would think,
is.
right? So he gets his first one. It's a big one. Wick thought he had here on a curveball. He'll try it again on 2-2, and this time he'll get the number 3 hitter. But big Christian Yelich, the MVP 2 years ago, 44 home runs last season. What slump? Forget about summer camp. He puts it out of here. Victor Caratini will take a strike to start the bottom of the 6th, and Brent Suter continues to work as he'll face Caratini to start in the 7th spot here in the Cubs' 6th inning. A single for Caratini back in the 4th. He was the last batter to face Corbin Burns, who left after 3 1/3 innings. Caratini pops it away foul. Kipnis on deck, a lefty, and then Ian Happ, the switch hitter, to follow.
Well, now he's got the 3-run lead, so counts can stick with him. It's not just a 1-run game. And as I said earlier, you know, the Kipnis coming up, the left-handers have had some good swings against him. Right-handers just not at all today.
Yeah, they didn't see that one too good out of the hand of Suter. Beautiful pitch for the first out of the inning. Well, T-Mobile is your ticket to the game this season. Customers get access to free MLB TV and more now through August the 3rd. A lot of time left. Go to T-Mobile.com/MLB to score. Had to get through that one fast with Suter.
That was quick. That was a short one, though. That was only a couple lines.
That's fair. Here's Kipnis. He has struck out and doubled today. Popped up. Gamble coming on. 2 down. Let's go back to the studio for a game break. Here's Kevin Burkhardt.
Well, talking about Chicago, why don't we talk about the White Sox and Yoan Moncada. Bam! Moncada going the other way, and that's going to find some room for extra bases, put Chicago in front. Adam, this is very important. EK knows this. So our buddy Hall of Famer Frank Thomas said today on our pregame show the White Sox are going to the World Series. So do with that as you may. Adam, back to you.
Hey, the buzz around this city has been big for the White Sox, understandably so, as Ian Happ takes one upstairs. They have a young, exciting lineup on the south side of this city, and some really good pitchers.
Well, that's the thing. The excitement, the young players. I mean, offensively, I really appreciate them. I love watching them.
Added Edwin Encarnacion.
Yep. Well, that's Frank's favorite player. Honest to goodness. Edwin,
Yeah.
I mean, he's been on him for the last couple of years. Just Oh, when it gets warm, he's going to start heating up. That's his guy.
34 bombs for Encarnacion last year between the Mariners and Yankees. Boy, Brent Suter locked and loaded in that inning. Couple of strikeouts, looking a perfect sixth. Today is the first ever Major League Baseball triple header on Fox. We're starting off your Saturday today. We'll have more coming up with the Dodgers and the Giants, and then Yankees and Nationals. They did not play last night. They'll get back at it after a shortened game on Thursday. And then over on FS1, Diamondbacks and Padres with our buddies Don Orsillo and Mark Grant. All of that, your Saturday of baseball on opening weekend. Justin Smoke, first pitch against James Norwood. Pops it up. Caratini is there, and he's got it. And to navigate and lean and get that mask off, and finally snared it after he hit the deck.
Yeah, he catches that. He's probably saying, man, Chris, can a guy get a little help here? I mean, man. But in Bryant's defense, he was playing. There was a shift on.
Yeah, there was. As are often is for
But you can see, though, Bryant's standing there watching the thing. Caratini's like, man, oh, man.
Yeah, because Caratini doesn't know. Right. He looks up and he goes, you were here the whole time?
Right.
Now Bryant goes back to his normal spot, although now the defense on the infield shifted to the left side for the right-handed hitting Avi Garcia, who has struck out thrice today. Twice against Yu Darvish, who went 4 innings, and then against Underwood, who stepped in for the 5th and 6th. Or for the 5th, beg your pardon. Brad Wick in the 6th. Peel down to first, and no swing, says John Tumpain.
So what do we think? Do we think that the Cubs and Milwaukee get to the postseason now with 16 teams? Do just one of them? Does somebody win the division? Does somebody? I mean, I think
this is probably the most competitive, at least projection-wise, this could be the most competitive division in baseball.
I think I agree with you. I don't think anybody stands out, right? I'm not saying that, you know, the best teams in baseball are from this division, but I would argue that they you know, outside of the Pirates, they're all pretty similar.
Yeah. So obviously it's a 60-game and 66-day schedule. It was announced before Thursday night's opening game that the postseason would be expanded from 10 teams to 16.
Right.
So now every division will have 2 representatives. You'll have your division winner and your second place team. So there's 6 out of each league right there. And then the next 2 records, regardless of division, from each league will make the playoffs. It'll be traditional seeding now. So you got your 1 versus 8, you got 2 versus 7, etc. The top 4 seeds will have the opportunity to host in the best of 3, what is now known as the wild card round, and then you have Division Series, Championship Series, World Series as normal. 3-2 is laced into right field for a base hit, and Garcia is aboard for the first time today. As we welcome this very unique setting of baseball back, Major League Baseball would like to honor, remember, and thank the frontline heroes who continue to lift up their fellow citizens during this COVID-19 pandemic. People working in hospitals, nurses, doctors, people delivering food and working in grocery stores. This has been as unique, and I hate using that word over and over again, it's been as weird of a 4 months as any of us can remember. And a little bit of normalcy is very welcome this weekend and going forward. We're glad you're with us on Fox today. Narvaez will stand in. And back in is Garcia, who, despite being a pretty big dude, still a pretty good runner.
Right. I was reading something the other day. They were talking about him being as fast as anybody on the Brewer Ball Club. Right. And that, you know, in his mind, he could play center field. I mean, he's not going to over Kane, but Hey, but if my man's fast, he's got to be down there at second base on that, right?
I was going to say, we're just praising his speed just then. And that ball, despite getting away a little bit from Caratini, Garcia will hold off.
Well, so that's one of the great examples in baseball that you've got to anticipate things. There's the difference between you can be fast, you can be a good base runner, you can be fast and be a bad base runner, right?
I would venture to say that the two guys that are standing next to each other at first base in Rizzo and Garcia are two pretty good runners on the base paths as big boys. I wonder if Rizzo's been handing out hand sanitizer, though, like he did last night.
That was great.
The only guy you could give it to was Orlando Arcia. He's the only one who got on base with a hit last night. Narvaez cranks one deep right center field. Hayward ranging back. Happ is there. He slides but can't get it. Around third, Garcia. He's on his way home. And he'll score on an RBI double from Narvaez. It's 7-3.
See, so now that's pretty good running by Garcia right there. He was moving.
Scores from first.
So Narvaez crushes that ball. You see this is a split finger right there. And it just hangs. Hangs, and again out over the plate. See, Happ gets there, but
I was waiting to see if he was going to lose the ball or find the ball. If it gets lost in there, that would have been interesting. Had they claimed a ground rule double, that would have stopped Garcia potentially at third base. Good base running, as you mentioned, EK, and a hard hit ball by Narvaez to bring him home. Nothing in one on Lorenzo Cain. Big cut on that fastball. So again, a double and a single and a couple of runs scored, EK.
Right, and this is our first introduction to the Cubs bullpen, right? And we didn't see it at all last night with Hendricks going the complete game. And, you know, hasn't been what they would hope, right? At least to start off, you know, you'd like to see him get a few outs, but you know, nobody's really been effective yet.
It's a bullpen last year that really struggled in big spots. You see the potential wins lost by bullpens last year. Only the Nats, who had a lot of those early in the season, and the Athletics had more. Cain muscles one into left field. Here comes Narvaez. The throw from Schwarber, and it will be cut off as the Brewers extend the lead even further. An RBI from Lorenzo Cain. He's got 3 hits on this second day of the season.
Again, this thing just up in the zone, missing location. I mean, that's you see that all the time. A guy gives up a hit, you watch a catcher's glove, and it starts in one spot, and then it goes to somewhere else. Schwarber coming here, and not really a play.
There's Gamble, and the triple back in the 4th inning to score a couple of runs. That was a big blow in this game for Milwaukee. And put them in front 3-1 at the time.
Well, and remember, you can go back to the end of the 3rd inning after Contreras struck out.
Cut off by Rizzo. He'll get the out at second for 1. Norwood covering. That's a double play. Well done to close out the inning, but a little insurance added. 2 more runs across from Narvaez and Cain. Is sponsored by Little Caesars, now serving up peace of mind with every order. Another comfortable sight. Fans looking up at the big video board at Wrigley Field, and as they often do, and I imagine they'll do pretty much every day this year, they'll have Harry Carey's video playing on the board since We may not have guests coming through Wrigley Field or other ballparks throughout the country. So a little bit of nostalgia here for the late, great Harry Carey. That means you know it's the 7th inning. Means it's the bottom of the 7th. Devin Williams is on for the first time for the Brewers. 2 2/3 from Brent Suter. Did give up the Schwarber home run, but his offense getting insurance runs across, and now Williams gets to work with a 5-run lead as he'll face the top of the Cubs order.
Well, it's a great spot for Williams to come in and get his feet wet as well. You've got the 5-run lead.
Big cut, and there's the fastball right out of the gate at 97 from Devin Williams. 25 years old from St. Louis. Top 60 pick back in 2013. A guy who's come back from Tommy John surgery. Made his major league debut last year through 13 innings. He's got really electric stuff. 0-2.
Well, that's the thing that this Milwaukee Brewer ball club, if they've got a lead 3 runs, 2 runs,
sure,
you just don't want to be behind late in the game against this club, because the arsenal and the variety of arms that Craig Counsell has to choose from. Oh,
ooh, look at that movement, riding in on Bryant inside.
I think that fooled CB too.
Whew.
That was a great pitch, great changeup right there.
There are some questions for Craig Counsell in the bullpen. That doesn't mean they're bad questions, but not everything is solidified. He's got a lot of pieces to play with again. Bryant reaches down to send one to deep right field, but playable for Avi Garcia. 1 down here in the bottom of the 7th. Well, baseball is back. The MLB app is the only place to get all your baseball action, all the highlights, the pitch-by-pitch breaking news, player updates. You got your stat leaderboards and standings, plenty more. The best app for live baseball. You can download it today. 1 down for Anthony Rizzo. It's going to be an interesting schedule this year, too. 60 games. You're going to play your divisional opponents 10 times apiece, and then you're going to play the counterpart division in the other league. That means the AL Central will play the NL Central. So these teams, Milwaukee, Chicago, will get good looks for a couple of series, a couple of stretches against teams like the White Sox, the Tigers, the Cleveland Indians. Boy, did Shane Bieber look good last night.
Man.
His outing. Whew.
What was that, 14 strikeouts?
14 strikeouts for the Indians last night for Shane Bieber. He and Mike Clevenger will make an interesting tandem at the top with the departure of Corey Kluber.
Carrasco back too, right?
Yep.
I mean, you know, that's an interesting division too, because everybody is sleeping on Cleveland. You know, obviously people are picking the Twins. You know, everybody's on Frank Thomas's bandwagon as well, picking the White Sox.
So if Rizzo swings 3-0, be patient, take it all the way. Now the Twins obviously have a lot of firepower. We know that. MLB record 307 home runs from Minnesota last year. The year of the home run ball, they were better than anybody. 3-1. Rizzo will draw a 1-out walk as we check in with Kevin Burkhardt for a game break.
Well, EK, you just mentioned the White Sox. Might as well go back on to the south side. And you talked about Edwin Encarnacion, new White Sox before. Well, guess what? He delivers with a home run. And Eloy Jimenez followed that up with back-to-back long balls. So the White Sox offense coming to play. Big Hurt doing jumping jacks in the studio. Adam and EK, back to you.
It's a little slimmer now for Big Hurt doing those jumping jacks, man. He's lean. He is lean and mean. There is Baez with Rizzo aboard and 1 out. And with Lucas Giolito in that rotation for the White Sox as well.
Dallas Keuchel.
Dallas Keuchel, the
right?
signing this year. You have a great catcher in Grandal catching these pitchers. Gio Gonzalez, a free agent. You'll guess that Nick Madrigal, one of their great prospects, will eventually make his way up. He's on the taxi squad. By the way, for those of you curious, each team is allowed a taxi squad of up to 3 players. Usually you'll have a catcher, a pitcher, and then maybe another utility guy, maybe another pitcher. Just in case there's a COVID positive test, there's maybe, we forbid, an outbreak or something along those lines, you have players readily available nearby at the facility. Big cut from Baez on a 97-mile-an-hour heater, and it's 1-2. South Bend, Indiana is the affiliate site for the Cubs. For the Brewers, it's up in Appleton, Wisconsin. That's where some of their prospects will be working. As we mentioned, Luis Urias, the excellent shortstop, has been cleared from his earlier COVID positive test, so he's back working out in Appleton. Baez shoots one on the ground through the right side. Base hit. Rizzo will stop at second. 2 men aboard for the Cubs, trying to get something going with 1 out.
Yeah, with Williams, you know, this ball right here, Baez does a nice job of just shooting it over to right field, just trying to keep the line moving. Yeah, that's why the previous walk to Rizzo, you just can't have that. I mean, I know he's not trying to walk him, but you know, you've got this lead. You're trying to preserve your bullpen. What you don't want to do is get into some trouble here and force Craig Counsell to have to make decisions, because then that starts to impact tomorrow and the next day.
And everything, as we've discussed, and I'm sure all of you will hear over the course of these next 2 months, every game is magnified that much more. Schwarber's already homered today. He's got 2 on with 1 out here. I mean, Jason Stark did a great job kind of breaking down the numbers. So you've got essentially 37% of a normal schedule. If you take 100 divided by 37, it equals 2.7. So everything has 2.7 the value that it would in a 162 game season. Schwarber takes another strike, and it's 0-2.
But I'm gonna be a little pain in the butt here.
Oh, please.
So
I welcome it.
But the playoff, because there's more teams in the playoffs.
That's fair. That's a very fair point.
As valuable, right?
I don't think so. I personally don't. But the
we don't care
schedule.
We don't care about personal opinions here, right?
Oh, of course not.
I'm just kidding. I mean, it'd be interesting to see, like, what are things worth now, and is it, you know, everybody's talking about how this is, you know, if I have to hear that this is a sprint and not a marathon anymore, I'm gonna get your
drinking games ready for the season, folks.
Oh my goodness!
Giants and Dodgers, a sprint coming up next.
Right, but so I don't know. Is it now with?
Sure.
I mean, because there's 16 teams, do you have, and it's all relative, right, to how the other teams are doing, and you know, you're just trying to accumulate wins. So I don't know. I'd like to. We'll have to have somebody in our R&D development or our R&D staff, you know, break down the algorithm to figure out.
That's a fair point, too, because we've been doing all this 2.7 talk before it was announced that it would be 16 teams. There's Contreras with 2 down and 2 on. Ooh, he came inside, and that cannot make Contreras feel good, considering that he didn't take too kindly to an inside pitch earlier. Between he and Baez and some of the Milwaukee pitchers getting close, not by purpose or anything. I'm not accusing anyone of anything, but it has gotten a little bit chippy.
So they're just trying to go inside. And I understand, as a hitter, my whole thought was, like, look, if you're coming inside, you better know how to throw inside, right? Don't just be coming inside, and, you know, on target practice. But you also have to take into account they're not trying to go after anybody.
Yeah. We'll step aside, bottom of the 7th here. Getting a visit from the Brewers staff. He's working with the bases loaded, and here's Jason Hayward. Tying run now on deck in Caratini. Jason Hayward could change this game with 1 swing as well. 0 for 3 so far today. That one Brewers fan really giving it to Caratini over there. Shift is on for Hayward for this 1-0 delivery from Williams. Good pitch, clipped the corner. More action in the bullpen as David Phelps loosens up for the Brewers. One. Hayward to the left side. Arcia over and out of play.
So I wouldn't even mess around with anything. The fastball is his pitch. He doesn't, he hasn't had a lot of great control right now. Don't put yourself in a situation where, okay, the count goes to 2-2 or 3-2, or just go after him right now. Fastball, you're 97, try and hit some location. I'd run it away. I'd run a fastball away.
Now pitches to work with here. Ahead in the count, 1-2. Hayward goes down swinging. Well, for some of you in California, we'll take you out to the start of Giants-Dodgers in a few moments. That game also available on FS1. Both our games on the Fox Sports app. For those of you staying with us, we'll get you out to that game at the completion of ours. Through 7. To the top half of the 8th inning, and the Cubs go deeper into their bullpen as Rex Brothers, the left-hander from Tennessee, 32 years of age, former first-round pick by the Rockies, is in for the Cubs. 9 years at the big league level, over 300 appearances between the Rockies, the Braves, and the Cubs. This is his first appearance in the big league since March of 2018.
And this guy can get after it too. He can get it up there pretty good.
There's 95 to Arcia, the 9-hitter to start. Arcia after 3 for 3 yesterday, 0 for 3 so far today. There's 93. I mentioned it again, just to repeat it, with Arcia up. Let's see if he ends up long term as the shortstop. This Urias kid that is now working out again, they have very high expectations for. They got him in a trade from San Diego, along with another pitcher, Eric Lauer, that they're very high on as well. That should add some major depth to both their pitching staff and to their defensive and offensive lineups.
Yeah, they're looking forward to getting Lauer back as well. I mean, that get him into the rotation.
Remember, they traded Zach Davies to the Padres and got a pretty good haul back between Urias and Lauer. Lauer was placed on the COVID IL a couple of weeks back, not because he had a positive test, but he was in contact with somebody who had. Goes to show you how seriously all this is being taken. But he pitched earlier this week. Hasn't really built up just yet. Arcia goes down on strikes against Brothers, and there's one down in the 8th.
This is an off speed, just dives down. You see Arcia just swings over it. He did all the heavy lifting yesterday with the 3 base hits. Taking today off. Offensively, he is.
Back to the top for Sogard. Hit, walk, RBI, run scored. Decent day out of the number 1 spot for Sogard. 95 for Brothers that time. The rotations for these two teams are set for this series. Freddie Peralta will go for the Brewers tomorrow. 24-year-old from the Dominican Republic who's been a starter and a reliever. Tyler Chatwood will go for the Cubs. Sogard takes down and away.
He's going to be an interesting one, right? He came over from the Rockies. Theo signed him a few years ago, and another one that has a live arm. And you figure if he can develop and get to a point where they expect him to be, it makes his team very competitive.
Doesn't always know where that live arm's going, but when he's controlled it, I mean, there have been some stretches where Tyler Chatwood, whether it's for the Rockies or for the Cubs, there have been stretches where he's been really good. The necessity for him is bigger because Jose Quintana is on the IL to start the season. And a thumb injury while washing dishes at his home. 4-pitch walk to Sogard, and that will bring up Christian Yelich as we check out today's drive of the game, sponsored by Rocket Mortgage. Heck of a drive back in the 6th.
Yeah, left this thing out over the plate. You watch Caratini's glove just move and absolutely crushed it.
Lefty on lefty. Stopped by Caratini behind the plate. And this guy is just a young star to enjoy for baseball fans. Just 28 years of age. Talking about all these young guys: Bellinger, Yelich, Mookie Betts. This guy's haven't hit 30 yet. They moved Yelich back to left field this year as well. He was a right fielder last year, but he was a very good left fielder with the Marlins, team that drafted him back in 2010. In fact, he won a Gold Glove with Miami a few years back. Tommy Hotovy out to chat with brothers, making his first appearance in about a year and a half. Well, the monster numbers since joining the Brewers in 2018, they speak for themselves. And because of all that, despite the injury, David Stearns, one of the youngest GMs in Major League Baseball, puts up the money. Biggest contract in Milwaukee Brewers history, more than double what Ryan Braun earned on his major money deal. Christian Yelich, the face of the Brewers and perhaps the face of Milwaukee athletics, along with maybe Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Yep, a Southern California kid, didn't know if he was going to stay in Milwaukee. But he really has found a home there. I mean, the community, the city's embraced him, the organization has. I mean, what he's done in his career for these 2 seasons, playing for that man right there, counts. I mean, just a great human being.
There's a 2-1 to Yelich. Back up the middle. What a diving stab that was by Kipnis, or beg your pardon, Bryant, in the shift.
So what's that go down in the scorebook as?
Line out 5 right there. L5, and an impressive. I'm gonna hang a star on that one.
Oh, a little Jerry Coleman.
Little Jerry Coleman for you right there, San Diego, for the University of San Diego product.
There you go. I mean, he uses all that 6'5", 6'6" frame. Yelich is, oh, you got to be kidding me.
Couple of MVPs right there. Big hole on the right side here for Hira, with Sogard being held by Rizzo. And you're going to want to face this guy without having to worry about Yelich on base as well. This is going to be a tough part of the order, as most of these big-time lineups are. The 2, 3, 4 spots only get more and more dangerous.
Well, how
lineups
about,
are constructed?
Yeah, and how about all the lineups now in the National League where, historically there has not been a DH.
Right.
And now you just eliminate that pitcher. I mean, it changes, where I thought a team was, okay, yeah, they're decent offensively. And now you throw that DH in there, you say, man, where am I going to get that out?
There was a thought about lineup construction, and when you put together most National League lineups, you go from 5 to 6. That's where the biggest drop-off usually happens. that may not be the case for a lot of lineups in the National League. Maybe most of them now. You're going to have to go through 1 through 6 now. A lot of these National League pitchers who haven't pitched in the American League will be dealing with something subtle but new.
Right. I mean, I didn't really think that we're, as a pitcher now, I've got to change my whole thought process, right? I mean, where once in a while I would, face that American League team in interleague play, or we'd have that, we'd have the DH, but every single time.
2-1 to Hira. And off the glove of Caratini. Off from first goes Sogard. Takes a round around second. Yeah, Hira that was a hitch. That was a bad golf swing.
I think what happened is, was there a balk? I think there was a balk.
Maybe.
They called a balk, so he just went to swing, because if you put the ball in play and it favors you,
you can take the result of the pitch.
Although with that swing, I don't know what kind of favorable result you were going to get out of that.
Again, that's one of the complexities of covering baseball in 2020 is the immediate signage from the umpires, the immediate communication that we can read really easily. It's a little harder to pick up now. See the crew chief, Jeff Nelson, third base umpire, talking with CB Buckner. They're making sure they're good on the count as well.
3-1.
Should be 3-1 because it counts as a pitch. You saw CB Buckner kind of maybe indicate that he was going to call for a balk, perhaps?
Well, I think so. So here's the only reason I said balk is because guess what? I heard somebody in the dugout say, that's a balk.
And obviously the result plays out. It's 3-1, runner at second. The official ruling is indeed a balk, moving the runner.
I'm telling you, this hearing stuff from the dugout, I love it.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the intensity from across the field, right?
I'm getting calls. I'm getting that's a home run. Cheering.
Embrace it, man. We're going to embrace the newness of all this, right? 3-2 on Hira. And he got him with a breaking ball. Runner stranded in scoring position. Bottom of the order coming up for the Cubs in the 8th. Today's telecast is sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Save when you bundle auto, home, or motorcycle insurance. And by Rocket Mortgage. Home loans that fit your life. Rocket can. A little cooler along the lakefront on Lakeshore Drive. Bottom of the 8th inning here at Wrigley Field. And David Phelps, the right-hander, is on for the Milwaukee Brewers out of their bullpen with a 5-run advantage. Phelps, the 33-year-old, another St. Louis native. In fact, went to the same high school that the previous pitcher went to, Devin Williams, both out of Hazelwood West in the St. Louis area in Missouri. Victor Caratini will lead things off in the Cubs' 8th out of the 7th spot.
I feel like Phelps and Knebel can be the guys to get the ball to Hader.
Yep.
Those are the two for me.
Yeah, Phelps, the former Cub, split his 2019 season with the Blue Jays and the Cubs before signing a 1-year deal with the Brewers. Another guy that loves that curveball. And you're right about Corey Knebel. That's one of the biggest storylines for Milwaukee this year, is the return of what could end up being in close games one of the better setup men in the National League. He's got a really good pedigree as a closer and a setup man. 2-1 to Caratini is outside.
I remember in 2018 he was arguably better than Hader down the stretch. I mean, he was dynamite.
Phelps comes home with a 3-1. Clips the corner. You got Knebel and Hader at the back end of the pen for the Brewers. On one of the most dominant pitchers in the game right now in Josh Hader, probably. Got to lock it down in the back end. Caratini with a leadoff walk here in the 8th. You can suit up for the season at MLBshop.com. You can check out the 2020 on-field jerseys by Nike, plus get the largest selection of official caps, t-shirts, hoodies, collectibles, and more. You're up with your favorite team at MLBshop.com. There's Jason Kipnis. Little tapper. On the bag, the step, the throw, double play. Nicely done. Eric Sogard, Orlando Arcia, Keston Hiura. These are solid infielders in terms of getting to the right spot.
Well, you see right there, Sogard takes it himself, right? He's right, plants himself, starts moving towards first base. While he's doing that, touches second, turns easy double play.
And not great arms all the way around, but the positioning, the range is pretty good. This could be a decent infield for this Brewers club once again. Ian Happ is in there. See his pants dirtied up after he went diving towards the warning track earlier. Talking about this division earlier, EK. Again, we're using those projections. Anywhere between 81 and 89 wins in a regular season kind of essentially equates to 30 to 33 wins in this shortened campaign. And this division has 4 teams projected to finish between 30 and 33 wins, these 2 teams included.
I mean, when you talk about one game making a difference, and that's why I guess you could say that it's so important every single game, is because when you're talking about being bunched up and the difference between playing, you know, beyond the regular season. The only thing I'll say about it, though, is because there are 16 teams, you start looking around at how are other teams doing, and then how many wins do I need to get, because that's where that number is now, but it's going to change.
Loop towards the right field corner, but Garcia is there to retire Ian Happ and retire the side in the Cubs' 8th to the 9th. Behind the scenes ticket to the game is sponsored by T-Mobile, providing America's most reliable 5G coverage.
3, 2, 1. We're back.
Today's telecast is sponsored by T-Mobile, America's most reliable 5G coverage, and by Applebee's. Our great crew, and my man Eric Karros. This is 2020, folks. This is baseball coverage in the year 2020 as Dylan Maples comes on for the Cubs bullpen. He'll face the middle of the order, Justin Smoke, in the 9th. But we're all embracing it. Every network that's doing this, everybody that's got a game to cover, everybody that's part of this season, we're thankful to do it. It ain't what we're used to. It ain't going to sound the same or look the same. But we're going to do it, and we're going to enjoy it, and we are thrilled and privileged to bring it to you this year.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I mean, this is, you know, a little apprehensive about how things were going to be, and I'll tell you what, it's been good. It's been real good, and it's to watch baseball, to have baseball back, and the excitement, the nuances, the rule changes, the fact it's a 60-game season, the 16 teams get into the postseason. And I'm excited about this, and I can't wait to watch this thing unfold.
Great crew in Los Angeles. EK's out in LA. I'm in Chicago. We're going to make it work. We're going to have some fun. Our great crew that's on site at Wrigley Field today and at Dodger Stadium and at Nats Park. We're all going to make it work. We're all going to have a great time. Hopefully you'll join us for the rest of the day as well. First triple header of Major League Baseball on Fox in its 25-year history. Great camera crew led by Mitch Riggin. Producer Brad Weimer, Adam Amin, Eric Karros. And a 3-2 count on Justin Smoke to start this top of the ninth inning. Cubs in the bottom of the ninth will have the top of their order up. Bryant, Rizzo, and Baez in a 5-run hole, and Maples trying to keep it at that. The 28-year-old from North Carolina making his 30th career big league appearance. Now his 4th year at the big league level. And a good tight slider to get Smoke swinging.
You see this pitch, a slider just breaks down and in. It's almost like that back foot slider you're trying to go after the hitter's left ankle. Great location.
Here's Avi Garcia, singled and scored in the 7th. Milwaukee added a couple of insurance runs in that 7th inning. Cubs scored first today on a Wilson Contreras RBI in the 1st. Brewers tied the game with an Eric Sogard RBI as Eric Yardley loosens up for the Brewers in their bullpen. 2 runs driven in by Ben Gamel on a triple in the 5th, or I beg your pardon, in the 4th. That gave the Brewers the lead, one that they have not relinquished. Ooh, that one slipped out of the hand of Maples.
You know, going back to the way this game is unfolded, I'll go back to the 4th inning, top of the 4th, the Brewers. And remember, that's following that 3rd inning little skirmish. You know, Contreras wasn't happy. The Cubs and Brewers both come out to the season, or come out to the field. First thing Darvish does, he hits Nevarez, and then things open up. They end up scoring a few runs
after that.
Yep.
And then the Gamel triple.
That's where the game changed.
Garcia waves at that slider. And made it a 3-1 game. Smoke homered back in the 5th to extend the lead to 3. Schwarber hit a 2-run blast to make it a 1-run game. 4 runs unanswered by the Brewers since. 2 coming on the Yelich home run in the 6th. And Narvaez and Kane in the 7th with base hits to score runs. And so we got to 8-3 on this 2nd day of the 2020 season for these two.
You know, I think both these teams, they get to the postseason. They're not, you know, both of these teams have flaws. There's no question about it. But there's a lot of things to like about each of these clubs.
Sure.
And I do believe as the season moves on, you know, there are things that they will get better at.
3-1 to Garcia. In the air to right. Playable for Hayward. 2 down in the ninth.
But they
Give me
both
a general thought on both of these teams. One thing you like from each of these teams just in the early part of the season that you think is going to propel them.
So for me, the Cubs, the lineup, especially, you know, those first 5, I just think that those guys are so daunting, and they will wear down opposing staffs. And I think you'll get a little production from the bottom. And I think for me with the Milwaukee, I honestly, I believe the starting rotation is going to be a lot better than people thought. I think so. Burns didn't give a long outing, but I think as he starts to build himself up and gets more confidence, you combine him with Woodruff, and then, you know, Hauser will be there, Peralta, you know, those guys. I think it's going to give Counsell an opportunity, you know, each and every single day.
There's the aforementioned Narvaez. Quickly down 0-2. And Brett Anderson starting the season on IL with a blister on his index finger. That's why Corbin Burns got the start today. The expected starter was Brett Anderson. They announced a few days before the season began that Anderson would go to IL. Narvaez pulls one into the hole, and that'll do it for the Brew Crew in the top of the 9th inning. 3 outs away from evening up this 3-game series. Top of the order coming up for the Cubs. how we've arrived to the bottom of the 9th inning. Christian Yelich's first hit of the season, a 2-run home run in the 6th inning to extend the lead and add some insurance. Yu Darvish was the Cubs starter today. He went 4. Corbin Burns went just 3 1/3, but the Milwaukee bullpen has been very sharp for the most part behind their spot starter today.
Lorenzo,
the top of the Cubs order due up here in the bottom of the 9th, DK.
Yep, Lorenzo Cain having a nice day as well, and something that won't show up in the box score, the base running.
Yes. That Abbott and Costello play that he had, he got Ben Gamble safe back to first in that rundown. That was a huge play in the large arc of this game today. So Yardley is in. 29-year-old facing Chris Bryant. Rizzo and Baez to follow. Yardley, as you can tell, the sidewinder. Undrafted free agent out of Seattle University. Claimed off waivers by the Brewers in November after he appeared 10 times to open his major league career with the Padres last year. 0-2 to Bryant.
So how about the different looks that we've seen out of the bullpen
How about
today from Milwaukee, right? You know,
Yeah.
You've seen Suter, who's a crafty lefty, works real fast. You've seen Williams, a super hard thrower. You know, you've got Yardley here, who's gonna, sidearm. Phelps. I mean, that's why this team has the ability to do something special, is because there are so many options in that bullpen, and Craig Counsell has been great at handling bullpens. So many different looks.
He calls his pitchers out-getters. That's it. Keep it simple. Get outs, you're going to pitch. We're going to piece it together. I mean, nobody did it as well, it felt like, at least, in terms of creativity with his pitching staff, than Craig Counsell. Milwaukee's bullpen only lost 9 potential wins last year. So we gave you that stat, bullpen losses, right, in potential wins. Nats struggled, Cubs struggled. Fewest potential wins lost by a bullpen. Milwaukee only 9 times last year. Fewest in the NL. And to do that without household name guys to get to Josh Hader and to piece it together the way Craig Counsell did last year and is expected to do it again this year. That creativity, that mind is going to help the Brewers, you would think, get deeper into the playoffs. Good play by Arcia. Bouncer in there to first, but Smoke makes the play to retire Bryant.
Well, and get back on that topic of the bullpen, there's nothing more deflating as a player than to come from ahead to lose.
Yeah.
And that is something that, again, you look at this Brewer team, when they have opportunities to close games out and win, Craig Counsell usually leads that staff to a win. That breeds confidence.
Yeah.
You start feeling good about yourself.
And it's very regimented, too, for Craig Counsell. First pitch to Rizzo is in there for a strike. It's not just, hey, I need a guy who's up. It's very regimented. He knows who's down every single day. You pitch 2 innings in one game, you're probably going to be out for a couple of days, barring bigger circumstances, playoffs or something like that. You pitch 3 innings out of the bullpen, probably going to be out for 3 days. It's a very regimented system for Craig Counsell. It's an ingrained philosophy. Chris Hook, the pitching coach, is all in on it. Well, he and Counsell have a very good, it feels like, mix of philosophy.
Well, this Brewer team they swung the bats today, had some long balls, played decent defense, battled. That's one thing that's been a staple of the Milwaukee Brewers the last few years, too, is they just grind.
Yeah.
Right? They never give up. And that's really a reflection of the way Craig Counsell played in his career, just
the ultimate grinder type, right?
Yeah. Yep.
These are two very likable managers. These are two very likable rosters. There's versatility in both of these lineups. There's a reason that people think it's going to be tight right down to the end in this division. How about bat movement? And then C.B. Buckner got the foul tip. Narvaez immediately checking on him. Same thing with Rizzo. Well, we saw a lot of this in the first couple of nights of the season. All that spin and then the foul tip. And look where that ball ends up. That thing was zigging and zagging.
Yeah, they got Mask, and then they got a lot of upper body of C.B. Buckner.
Oof. CB, the veteran umpire, shaking his head. There are many umpires that opted out of this season as well, understandably so. There are a lot of umpires that are a little bit older in age, certainly bigger risk factors for COVID-19. A lot of familiar umpires calling balls and strikes still in this 2020 season. CB, one of those.
Well, that's the one thing we do have to remember. You know, we get engrossed in this game. We start watching the game. We start thinking, oh, man, that guy should have made that play, or, oh, that umpire didn't make that call, or this and that. And the reality is it is still a very tenuous situation. And these guys and people are out there, women are out there, you know, providing us as fans a bit of an outlet.
Sure.
Hats off to them, every one of them.
Got the Purell off the belt buckle that time from Jeff Nelson. Deep to left, racing over Gamble, but he'll run out of room. With this division, with Cincinnati's improvements this year, the free agent signings that they brought in, including former Cub Nick Castellanos, former Brewer Mike Moustakas, both of them now playing in the division for David Bell. Nothing in 2 on Rizzo. And he finally goes down. That was the 31st pitch that Anthony Rizzo saw today. Typical of him. Down on strikes, and the Cubs down to their final out. I think the Reds are going to be good. The Pirates obviously are maybe the team that's looked at as the odd team out. But the other 4 teams in this division, man, it just feels like every game is going to have so much weight in this division just based on the projections and the talent levels being so equal. There's Baez cutting away.
He was getting his right there.
He's like, hey, man, we're down 5. Let's see if I can crank one out real fast.
You see Yardley gets his hand, actually it's underneath the ball. The hand is underneath the ball.
And this is almost a submarine style delivery. You can tell there's a couple different slots, but man, that has got to be tough to pick up. Cubs down to their final strike today. Yardley trying to finish it off. Baez keeps it alive. And Dodgers and Giants are on FS1 right now. We will get you to Dodgers and Giants after the conclusion of this game here on Fox. Joe Davis, AJ Przinsky will have the call for you. That game tied at 1 apiece in the top half of the 2nd inning. Baez punches it on the ground to first. Smoke is there. And the Milwaukee Brewers even up this opening weekend series at a game apiece with an 8-3 Saturday win. For Eric Karros and our entire Fox crew spread around the country between Chicago, LA, and elsewhere, Adam Amin saying so long. It's been a privilege to be here. We'll do it again soon. Giants and Dodgers with Joe Davis and AJ Przinsky right after this.